What is it, 40? Is it even 40 right now?
It is 37. Feels like 31. High today of 42.
Because any other day of the week, if I ask, or any day of the year, if I ask, hey, you going to wear shorts when it's 40 degrees? You're going to say, of course not.
That's right.
Is there something to be said, though, for when it's been 5 degrees for like a month and a half that, like, I cracked my window open yesterday and it didn't feel cold at all?
Yeah.
Does it only not feel cold because it's been super cold?
I almost can see grass.
Like, the feels like to me should have been 65 yesterday.
Yeah, it was warm.
My feels like was 65 degrees. Just because, I could have been wearing shorts. This morning, same thing.
Yep. It's nice out. Kind of nice. I mean, rainy and 40.
The ground is kind of gross because there's flooding everywhere. And
that's true.
You step out of your car in the parking lot and it's like just a pond.
Yeah, that's
basically.
true.
You're trying to do stepping stones on ice to get to the sidewalk. Yeah, it's tough.
Yep. Well, good morning, Jeremy and Joe. We've got plenty coming on the show today. Sal at 7 from Indianapolis as the Combine's underway. Lindy Ruff at 8 o'clock ahead of the Sabres game with the Anaheim Ducks. Hey, 9 to go. Operation 10 straight.
Let's go. Come on.
9 to go.
Anaheim. Nothing. Right? Anaheim. Who's Anaheim? Anaheim stinks. Right?
Got to win 10 in a row.
When's the last time Anaheim was good?
They have won. Let's go. Operation 10 straight continues tonight. And if they lose, then it starts in the next game. It doesn't have to be these 10. They just have to find a way to win 10.
Anaheim does have 6 more points than the Sabres this year, by the way. Wow. So it shouldn't be so definitive. Like, oh, they're terrible.
That's right. That's tough to do. Well, anyway.
Minus 28 goal differential, though.
Oh, there you go. So we'll find out about Alex Tuch and Jason Zucker as well. Trade deadline in the NHL a week from Friday. All right, football stuff. Lots. McDermott gave us a bunch to talk about.
Yeah, he did.
A bunch to talk about. And I am fully prepared to sink my teeth fully into the Keon Coleman conversation. But before that, want to do the tush push really quick?
Sure. Yeah.
He's on the competition committee. He doesn't want the tush push anymore.
I think it sounds very much to me like his vote would be against.
Yes.
Or not against the ban, for the ban, right?
Banning the tush push.
It. Yeah.
And he's a coach of a team that uses it often and uses it very effectively. Maybe not as much as the Eagles, but he's in favor of banning it. The Packers submitted the proposal to ban the tush push.
Yeah.
Sounds like McDermott's on board. I'm on board. I would ban it. The commissioner has wanted to ban it, and I would ban it too. And it's not because I'm a poor sport over here. The Bills use it often. They maybe we all think should have used it to a first down in the AFC Championship game that they didn't get the spot on. Like, speaking as a team that does use it and use it well. My quarterback's not Matt Ryan out here or something. I'm not here with Matthew Stafford, a team that doesn't push it. I've got Josh Allen. I would ban it. I would not think. Oops, hit my microphone. I would not think twice. I would never look back. McDermott, if he's one that says it looks bad for the game, it's unaesthetically, whatever, it's unappealing, I agree with all of it. I think it's a bad play. We had quarterback sneaks for decades. Yeah. Everybody was fine. Tom Brady got 58 in a row with just a regular old quarterback sneak. We already have a play that's kind of unstoppable. I think the tush push, when you line up the receivers from behind, everybody just pushes. I think it does look bad for football, and I absolutely support banning it.
That's kind of what McDermott's point was yesterday, too, wasn't it? That, hey, I don't even know that there is the injury data out there. I don't like how it looks. And he kind of said within the context of injuries, which I guess I kind of get, because if your game is supposed to be right now trying to show, hey, we're trying to be safer, as safe as we can be for what our sport is. So we're taking away head hits and we're doing this, no more hip drop, whatever. Like, we're making implication or implement after implement to kind of make the game a little bit safer. Oh, well, here's this one play where everyone lines up, and before the play, they all stick their necks down at each other, point the top of their heads like they're bulls about to lock horns, and then bam, the snap, and everybody just hits each other in the head immediately.
Yep.
Isn't that the point McDermott's making? Is it doesn't look like a safe play. It looks like we don't care about their heads, especially the way that these teams are playing it. That might not be the reason that everybody votes against it. Why are the Packers submitting it? Are they submitting it because of that, or are they submitting it because they think that it's a stupid play, it's unstoppable, and What do you do when you have an unstoppable play? What they do with an extra point at the 1 yard line? That was 99.9% effective.
They moved it.
There's no point to this play anymore.
Yep, they moved it.
Now, the only thing about that is the Eagles are the only team that are doing it at that rate. Everybody else is doing it really well, but not at 99.9% effectiveness. It's just the Eagles that are doing it that well. Even the Bills. The Bills are great at it.
Yep.
But the Bills had what they have. They had one mistake. Maybe was it going into the AFC Championship, or was it two that they didn't have a success on?
They didn't have a success against the Vikings when Allen fumbled the snap into their own end zone to lose that game. When Gabe was pushing him.
Yep.
So they've had
a couple
mistakes.
But the Eagles are they've had one in 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I guess you'd have to get to the root of McDermott talking about safety. Maybe he thinks it's safety. Maybe he thinks it just doesn't look that good, is not good for the league.
And he's saying it's safety because that's what you kind of hide behind.
He could think it's both. The competition committee has a real whatever. Every decision like this is going to be, what's my primary motivation? Why did they move the extra point? Because it was too automatic?
Yes.
And are football coaches mad about something that's automatic? Or did football say, hey, people are turning off the television for 5 minutes. We're going to lose ad revenue. Advertisers don't want the ad that's right before the extra point because they think it's automatic, blah, 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 right? Or right after the extra point. Did they do it for their own business model because they wanted a play that looked automatic to be something that's in doubt? Isn't that why the kickoff got changed? The kickoff got radically changed because it was too predictable. More often than not, all I'm getting out of this is a touchback. Kickoff returns are done. They could talk about how safety was a big part of it, and I'm sure it was. But safety's a part of every play, and they're not banning anything that's exciting. They're banning things that are boring. And I support that. I think it's the right thing to do. Ban something that is boring. You could even do it right off the tush push because the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much. We're going to go ahead and sunset this thing. You won. And the era of the tush push is over. Congratulations. If the Eagles had not just won the Super Bowl, maybe it's different, but I fully support it. I don't know how much the competition committee's job, Joe, is to make the sport look better, and I'm not even sure that most football fans think it looks bad. I do. I think it looks lame. I think it stinks.
I don't think it looks like a football play.
Yeah. I think it stinks. I think the Eagles are the 1.5 yard. The Eagles are the 1.5 yard line, and here comes Hurts. All right, I'm glad you're good at it. I think it stinks.
Yeah, I don't think it looks like a football play at all. It looks like rugby. And, right, you have the sneak anyway. The sneak
it's right
is
there.
not that far. That's not that different. Like the Eagles with Hurts doing that without guys pushing from behind, they're probably still going to be the best in the league at it. They're probably going to still do the exact same thing when they get to the 1 yard line. They're going to sneak it. But I don't have this mosh pit of humanity that is just I know what the play is before the snap. Right? There's no question about it. There's no real deviating from it. There's no real way to stop it. When you have a play like that, that's when it's time to ban it. Especially when it looks the way it does. It just doesn't look like a football play. And I think that's what McDermott was getting at yesterday. It just doesn't look like a play that should be in our sport.
True or false? Forward progress kind of goes out the window on that play. You can stuff it right away.
Yeah.
And what do they do?
They push forward after.
They just let you keep going. You can keep going. Keep going until this ball carrier falls down. I don't know if I've ever seen the tush push blown dead early.
Yeah.
They wait till that guy goes down. I mean, with Allen, he got to the line to gain in the AFC Championship game, and they did not blow it dead right there. It just kind of keeps going and keeps going. So, I'm not going to live or die with the NFL if they don't ban it, but I just think that the common response is, if you can't stop it, that's your problem. That just wouldn't apply in other scenarios. There are plenty of things that used to exist in football that were unstoppable, and they made them illegal. This is a rough example, but Deacon Jones used to smack the head of every offensive lineman he ran by. And then they said, you know what, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. Okay. Offensive linemen used to be allowed to hold, and then they said, you can't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. So now you can't. The forward pass didn't exist. They added it. So anytime there's a rule change conversation, excuse me, I'm up for whatever it is, and I don't think they will ban it. I don't think they'll succeed, but got a couple coaches, and you have the commissioner that want to get it done.
Yeah. Have you thought about if they were to ban it, how they would ban it?
They would just say you can't push the quarterback from behind. That's it.
Okay, just the quarterback?
You can't push a ball carrier from behind.
Because there are a lot of plays during a year where there was one of these with James Cook, wasn't there, in the Baltimore game, where he runs for 5 yards, he gets hit by a linebacker, Deion Dawkins grabs James Cook, and now he starts pushing him forward.
Right.
And then you get that pile on like a run play. Like, is it worth separating those two, or is everyone okay if they were to ban the tush? But if your team banned tush push, are you also okay that they're banning all of those plays? Because those do happen.
Right. I don't want to ban all those. I just want to ban pushing the quarterback from behind off the snap.
Okay.
My language of
there should be a way to do that.
Yeah.
Just so you're not allowed to pre-plan, the push. You know what I mean? Like, you're only allowed to push if it's like in the moment. Yeah. It can't be right off the snap. You can't push a player right off the snap of a play.
That's it. You can't push a ball carrier if they're behind the line of scrimmage.
Or that.
That's it. Problem solved. You want those plays where James Cook's down the field and the offensive line can plow into him and get 5 more yards? Those are fine. You just can't push a ball carrier behind the line of scrimmage. And then you might get to the tush push saying, like, well, what if I jump forward right away and I get across the... I don't know. I'll let them figure that out.
I don't think they're going to ban it right now. Aren't they going to ban it, though, the moment that somebody gets seriously hurt?
Maybe.
Hasn't really happened yet.
But
Mahomes got hurt on a sneak, not a push, like 4 years ago. Nobody that I can remember has been like seriously injured on one of those plays.
You did have the incident in the game between Washington and Philly. The guy jumped over the line 3 times.
Yes, and the referee threatened that they'll award the touchdown.
Points. That's a good indication maybe you've got something that's troublesome.
Shouldn't he have just kept jumping? Like, you're going to award points. They're about to score anyway. What's the difference? It's the same thing. Go ahead, award the touchdown. Yeah. They're about to score. Yeah, if I were that guy, I would have kept jumping.
Right.
Jump every time.
Why not?
Yeah.
803
the guy in Madden that goes offside every play because he just doesn't want to lose, gets the game held up.
You can vote in the poll on Twitter. You can vote in the poll. We've got a poll up on the chat on the YouTube channel. You can pop in on Twitch. You can join us where you join us. And, of course, phones open 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. The tush push. Other things McDermott had to talk about. He talked about James Cook again. They're going to sign that guy. I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to sign that guy because McDermott continues to rave about Cook. We've got lots to dig into on Keon Coleman. I now think the Keon Coleman conversation is the $1 million question of the offseason. It is the number one fork in the road for me on how they should approach this offseason. I'll explain what I mean on all that. Bill in Lockport on the tush push. Hey, Bill, good morning.
Yes, good morning, guys. I got to hear your last bit with the tush push. I think I agree. I think, Jeremy, I respectfully disagree with what you were saying. I think with the old rule, you can't aid and embed the runner. I don't know why they got rid of that, but I do think they should go back to that. You want to talk about not looking like football, the tush push, and I do agree. I don't think linemen, you mentioned, I don't think they should push, and I've seen Dawkins or whoever else actually pull them forward, and I just don't think that's necessary. I just don't think that should be in football. I think they should just go back to you can't aid and embed the runner. And just go back to the way it was. I don't remember why they changed it, but, I just think you don't need the tush push, and you don't need to be pushing and pulling the runner. And I do agree. That's a good point about you don't really see them stopping the forward progress with the tush push. I mean, there needs to be some kind of, limit to that. There needs to be an end point, obviously, but that's just what I was talking. I think they just go back to the old rule and just go with that.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I mean, I don't need, if you want to get rid of it all, I'm not going to be upset about that either.
Isn't it a rule right now that you can't pull guys? Isn't that already a thing?
Yes. You cannot pull ball carriers. And I'm reading an article about how in the league once banned the assisting a ball carrier via pushing, pulling, or carrying. But in 2005, the league lifted the ban for pushing. So, if you are as old as me, I'm 45. Most of your football watching life, although 2005 is kind of in the middle, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. We watched a lot of football where pushing the ball carrier was illegal.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we felt this outcry. Let him push the guy.
Yeah.
They just lifted that. You cannot carry a player, and you still can't, Bill, to your point, you can't pull a ball carrier, which I'm now ready for a point where sometime this year we'll be watching, and Gene, is this a push, or has he crossed the threshold in front of the ball carrier into a pull?
The push-pull
Is he pushing
threshold.
or is he pulling? Well, you see, guys, he clears his shoulder here, and now it becomes a pull. Sorry, give me my Gene's territory reference of the day. You can't pull. You can't carry. You can push, but you weren't always allowed to. And this is, I guess, the Eagles one day, went into the rule book and said, hey, we can do this.
Yeah.
The rules say that we can. So banning the tush push would simply be going back to what the rules used to be in 2000, as recently as 2005.
Yeah, they just, thought it was too hard to officiate? Did that come up?
Maybe. I remember the Reggie Bush push is a very famous play here.
Yeah.
So the Bush, what year is that? 2003?
2003, 2004, yeah.
Okay, if you don't remember this game, this is USC winning at Notre Dame on the last play of the game where Reggie Bush pushes Matt Leinart into the end zone for a touchdown, or is it vice versa?
No, you got it right.
So Bush pushes him, and he scores, and they win. And one of the stories of that game, or that day, was the Bush push. That is legal in college, not legal in the NFL. At that time, maybe the most famous edition of it until the Eagles showed up, at that time, it was not legal. And it was a huge moment in the history of USC and Notre Dame.
Right. He didn't pre-plan that, though, is kind of the other part of that. Like, that was a more, hey, the play is happening, okay, let me do this. Not, let's all line up, 4 of us right behind Matt Leinart and shove him into the end zone. So,
yeah, 7 seconds. I'm watching it right now. 7 seconds left. USC down 3 at the 1 yard line. You say it was not pre-planned. It might have been.
It?
Well, I mean, they've got a play call here, and it's 2nd and goal from the 1. It's definitely not like your traditional Eagles tush push, but yeah, it's 100% planned. Reggie Bush pushed him in.
Bush at least is like he knows his plan at least is I'm going to run up and make sure
and push Leinart in.
Yeah, that's right.
And they win in overtime.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I feel like it's going to be on the docket.
Oh, sorry. Actually, that game did not happen because I see actually it's been they lost all the records and everything.
Oh,
because
for Reggie Bush.
Yeah, Reggie Bush. Yeah, that actually didn't happen. NCAA.
He got stripped of that Bush push.
Yeah.
All right, 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. The Combine is underway. We got a lot to get to. I got Chris Trapasso on with One Bills Live talking about Kenneth Grant, who is the number 1 target for the Bills, at least in everything I see right now, as defensive tackle, who could be there, who could be a fit, who gets mocked to the Bills all the time. McDermott on the wide receivers yesterday was interesting. We got a lot. We got a lot from McDermott, a lot on James Cook, a lot on Keon Coleman. Some on Kincaid. He kind of echoes thoughts on Kincaid.
Yep.
So here we go. Big week for the Bills. Slotting these prospects, doing their interviews, figuring it out. I went back yesterday. Here's an interesting little side note before we get to the Coleman stuff. Do you remember who they brought in for visits last year? So you can chart the top 30 visits.
Yeah.
And maybe that gives you an indication of what they want. So I went back to last year to find out. Ryan Talbot charts these a lot, tracks these. I think I found it at Buffalo Rumblings. The top 30 visits the Bills had last year. Here are the receivers that came in. Ryan Flournoy. He was the 7th round guy, day 3 guy.
He's in Dallas now.
Yep. Troy Franklin.
Okay.
Tell me what you remember about them.
I remember him being thought of as like a day 2 guy, maybe around that. No, maybe not. Maybe we even thought he could be like late first round pick. But speed guy.
Devontae Walker.
Big guy.
Speed guy, too.
And speed guy, right? That's right. He was both.
Worthy.
Speed, obviously.
Brian Thomas Jr., apparently, according to his Instagram, again, they don't always release the full. We think Brian Thomas Jr. came in, and Keon Coleman.
Speed and explosiveness, and then Coleman.
And then Coleman, who is not speed.
Not speed.
He's not speed.
Gauntlet speed.
He plays fast, but he is not speed like these other guys are. And I looked at all that yesterday and thought, McDermott again yesterday spoke about speed, vertical, horizontal speed. They want speed. And last year, the guys they brought in for visits, it was a lot of speed. An awful lot of speed. Their Zoom calls, their private workouts. I mean, they worked out more receivers than any other position. I think they worked out 9 receivers in private workouts and ultimately landed with 1 in the draft. And here we are again talking about it. They worked out Troy Franklin. They worked out Jalen McMillan. They had Zoom interviews with Devontae Walker, a guy named Stephen Cobbs, who I haven't heard of him at all or where he went. But they attended pro days. Prospect meetings at the Combine. Brian Thomas Jr., A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Legette, Keon Coleman, Devontae Walker, Jalen McMillan, Roman Wilson, Xavier Worthy, and Johnny Wilson. They were doing so much work on receiver. And they land on Coleman. And Coleman came in for a top 30 visit. The reason I looked all this up, Joe, was after listening to McDermott talk about Keon Coleman yesterday, I thought, did you not know who he was?
Yeah.
Because it feels like right now the Bills are not quite sure who he is. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of nuts. We'll play a McDermott on the other side about Coleman. I can't believe that. I kind of can. Is it surprising to you they keep talking about him like this?
No, I mean, no.
It's very public.
How the season went, I guess. No, yes, I should be. Yes. Because even though the season was rocky, when's the last player they really sounded like this?
Have they ever talked about Kyer Elam like this?
I was actually, on my drive in, I was wondering, I wonder if I could go back and find him talking about Elam at the Combine after his rookie season. And, what he would have been asked about him, I'm sure, and what he would have sounded like on Kyer Elam at that point in time. Because I can't imagine it was more critical, not critical even, whatever. You want to call it critical, of Elam as he sounded about Coleman yesterday.
The thing I think I remember about Elam would be Beane saying, I'd love to tell you that he doesn't work hard, but it's not.
I remember that.
Something along those lines to indicate, if you're reading between the lines, Elam just doesn't get it.
Right.
He doesn't get what they're trying to do, and they don't trust him, and they can't play him. Anyway, Coleman, to me, is the new $1 million question about their offseason approach. We'll play a lengthy exchange between McDermott and media about Keon Coleman and ask your thoughts on this and how it should affect their offseason. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Jeremy and Joe. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. Good morning to everyone out there. Good morning to the chat. See what's going on in the chat a little bit later on today. You never know. It's like a science experiment every day. Good morning, everyone in the chat. Jeremy and Joe on WGR.
Sean McDermott meets with the media at the NFL Scouting Combine yesterday. He is there before most coaches as he is on the competition committee. That committee getting the rule proposal to ban the tush push proposed by the Green Bay Packers. McDermott speaking about that yesterday, saying that he doesn't like the aesthetic of the play what it looks like in terms of injuries. McDermott also speaking on Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, praising James Cook again. You can listen to all that audio on our website, WGR550.com, and the Odyssey app. Elsewhere around the NFL, Peter Schrager of Fox Sports reports that Matthew Stafford has teams willing to pay him more than what the LA Rams are willing to pay him, and that Stafford wants to be paid more than $50 million per year on his next contract. The Sabres are in action tonight, 7 o'clock against the Anaheim Ducks. We'll have pregame starting at 6 here on WGR. Alex talked Jason Zucker not at practice yesterday, but Lindy Ruff said that he wouldn't know more about their availability until today. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
As far as Keon goes, I thought he had an up and down first season. I really do. And I mentioned that after the year. I thought he got off to a start that he built momentum through, and then he got injured. And then from there on, it was rather rocky, I would say. We're looking for him to learn from those moments of adversity and come back and have a really, really strong offseason and get himself going into the start of season 2 here.
So that's Sean McDermott on Keon Coleman, something we heard from the Bills at the end of season presser. Rocky is how McDermott described Coleman's season. Mm-hmm. Then he's asked a follow-up question about how Coleman would respond to this kind of being challenged to be better, grow up, mature. He's a young kid. He's a rookie. A lot of this is to a point to be expected in some cases. And he spoke for a while on this, so it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy cut. But McDermott's asked how Coleman would respond to that challenge.
I mean, he's a good young man that, just as most young players, don't always know what they don't know about the league and how hard this league is. And so it's more constructive style conversation and topics with how we can move forward together and what you have to do, the process between now and the start of the offseason program in March and April. So that's really what it's about. And until you've gone through it, you haven't gone through it. And so just trying to build awareness of what you need to do. And there's a lot of people who come in and have a good first year, and then another rookie at the same position doesn't have the same level of success. And then what you find, and it's kind of human nature, is the person who had great success that first season kind of relaxes a little bit and downshifts, thinking that they understand how this league works. And it's actually the player that didn't play much in the first year comes and has a better second year than the first player does. And it's just a weird dynamic to me, but it really makes sense when you think about it. Like, you have to stay urgent. You have to stay on the gas, or this league will eat you up, whether you're a player or coach, whatever it is. And that takes a certain type of person with a certain drive and determination and fire in their heart. And it's going to be Keon's turn to show that he has that this offseason.
It's a veteran coach talking about this is not an easy league. And that makes sense. It's a long answer.
It sounds like, he's talking about a kid.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. He's a kid. I mean, he is. He's super young. Some rookies are older than others. These guys can be anything from like 21 to 26 sometimes.
Yeah.
And Coleman is young. To me, Joe, this is the million-dollar question about the offseason. And give a thought on this if you want to, 803-0550. Or ask a different question. Like, what's your million-dollar question? My million-dollar question for the Bills this offseason is, are you treating Coleman as a bankable asset for next year? Mm-hmm. Or are you treating him as, hey, we hope that goes somewhere, but we shouldn't count on it? He also referred to Cole. He said about Cole Bishop that he's in the mix next year and has a chance to start, but nothing's guaranteed.
Yep.
And that's, you and I have talked about safety, whether or not they could pursue help at safety. Bishop might be in a similar boat about, hey, we drafted this kid. There's a lot of things we like about him, but I want to put everything in the through the prism or whatever, of a Josh Allen prime year. Am I going into a Josh Allen prime year counting on Keon Coleman to do the things I need him to do? Or am I going to form a backup plan or a side plan, and if Coleman does those things, well, then I'm in great shape.
Well, the way they talked, the way he talked, aren't they certainly coming in with something of a backup plan, something of a plan B of, hey, we want him to mature. If he doesn't, we need to be ready. And but then that gets to how much do you want to be ready?
Right.
How strong of a competition do you want for him? Same thing with Bishop, too. Do you want, for Bishop, do you want a Javon Holland? Because that's no longer a chance to start. Like, you're just not starting anymore. Or do you want another Mike Edwards? Or another DeMar Hamlin, just with a different name? Like, that's your competition. For Coleman, is Mac Hollins your competition? Or am I going to go get, again, receiver, Hollywood Brown?
Hollywood Brown.
Although he doesn't, roll a little bit different. But those are snaps on the outside. That's a veteran receiver. Coleman, despite not being a speed guy, this is maybe where they're confused about part of what his game can be in the league long term. What are the plays? The go routes, right? Mm-hmm. They're throwing the ball down the field to Keon Coleman. So, all right, this guy, he's smaller than you. He's not going to win balls the same way you are. But those routes that you're running, he's here to take those from you if you're not going to live up to your expectation here. If you're not going to mature a little bit, if your game isn't going to mature. I would be stunned the way they're talking about Coleman if he was just on the depth chart with nothing else really behind him going into the season. Like, they're going to do something.
Yeah, probably. Whether that's Cooper or, Hollins will be back. I would imagine Hollins will be back. You just can't go into it hoping, hey, Kincaid and Coleman will just be better. Well, I don't know about that.
Right.
Easy. Careful just hoping everybody turns out to be a little bit better. It's a model that, sometimes works. But that's the other part about this. What are the options out there? Josh Palmer. I saw Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast, laying out a couple different ideas. Like guys to bring in, Diami Brown and Josh Palmer. Both decent names, guys that have had lower roles.
Those are downfield guys, though, too. Diami Brown especially. Yep. And we're in a lot of downfield stuff.
He's been an explosive guy. He's kind of popped for the Commanders late this year, and there's plenty to like there. And again, the Bills might still dip into the well of let's get some guys we think can be good, and Josh Allen will elevate their game, which he does for everybody he plays with. So it's definitely not ideal. You don't want to get to this point and be talking about your rookie receiver this way, that he's got to figure out what the league is about. And again, one thing that makes this different than other scenarios, it might be true of every single rookie receiver. It might be true of Worthy, and it might be true of Malik Neighbors, that Brian Dable and Joe Shane had this conversation with Neighbors in his exit meeting. The difference is, and this is where whenever a coach or a GM speaks publicly, they're telling all of us this. It's something they could just tell Coleman, but they're telling all of us this, and that is a choice. It's a choice to say it out loud. You could just say, had a good year, excited to see him in year number 2. To go in multiple times, both Beane and McDermott in public, to me says that behind the scenes, it's a lot louder, and these conversations were had consistently with Coleman.
Kind of put him on alert a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not just getting handed this starting job. Like, you gotta go do it. You gotta go. He did. What's interesting about that, though, is if that was happening all the way through, and this is where I wonder what they do around him, because they traded for Cooper, right? But Coleman's snap counts never really, went away, except in the AFC Championship game. And maybe you want to say that is meaningful. That the biggest game of the year, all right, that's when he played the least.
How many snaps?
He played in that game 39, which was 53%. He had not dipped below 60 in any other game of the year except for the Jaguar game that he was suspended the first quarter. So if you take out the game where he was suspended for a quarter, the AFC Championship was the least amount that he played all year. By 8% or more, by 7-8 snaps. And that's only compared to the other playoff games. Like the regular season games, he was playing. 90% against the Jets, 66% against New England, 79% against Miami, 83%. Like the numbers, especially before the injury, are like all 75% and above. And then, all right, small dip, he comes back from injury, and then, he's only playing half in your biggest game of the year. Cooper playing a little bit, Samuel was back healthy. So maybe you could read into that a little bit and say they weren't lacking trust in him, at least compared to what they were beginning of the season. But now what's the plan B? Like I'm going to be thinking a lot more about that now.
Yeah.
What is their plan B to Keon Coleman?
Mac Hollins.
He's like
I know, but Hollins did have a bigger role with the Raiders and a bigger role with the Dolphins too.
Definitely
Just
the Raiders.
Just
Definitely
the
Raiders.
You'd wonder if the Bills might look at what happened last year and say, should we bring back Mac and elevate his role a little bit?
Man,
he didn't let you down too much. He was reliable. He's super popular. You like his energy, but can he get open? Can he separate? That's tough.
He doesn't really do that for me, right?
He makes tough catches. He blocks.
He made a couple. I'm looking right now. I was looking this up for Coleman because I know Coleman had a bad year in his contested catch percentage. Like out of 89 qualifying receivers, he was 80th. In the league. He was behind Tank Dell. Tank Dell caught a higher percentage of his contested balls than Coleman did. And who's sitting there 2 spots below Coleman? It was Mac Hollins.
Yeah.
You had 2 of the worst 10 in the league. Between the two of them, 26 contested targets. They caught 6. Like, those are the things that those dudes you think would be better at, right? Because they're not getting open on a regular basis. So I'm not saying Hollins can't be here and that there isn't value in him being here. But I personally would like to see them do a lot better than him. As like, okay, I need somebody to play on offense. I need somebody to be a target for Allen regularly because Coleman just still isn't getting it. I'm going to want to see them have an option that's better than that, personally.
8030550. John writes in, comments on the chat, hoping everyone takes a step forward and getting better that way is how the Sabres have operated for the last decade. And that's not wrong. And it doesn't have to be wrong for the Bills. I mean, can Coleman take a step forward? Definitely.
Yeah.
Can Kincaid? Definitely. A lot of players can.
Who's more likely?
Coleman or Kincaid?
Who's more likely to take to take the step they want?
You asked me the other day, and I said Kincaid. I think Coleman is going to be what he is in the NFL, and that's a productive outside big bully guy, but it's a role. Kincaid can probably be more versatile. But yeah, to the overall point, just hoping everybody gets better. I want to keep looking at everything through a Josh Allen prime year. It's a Josh Allen prime year. He just did put together an amazing season with receivers that everybody in the league would say that's how he got the MVP. It's because no one thought his receivers were all that good. And some of them are pretty good. I just don't want to go into this year thinking, sitting there at training camp, all right, well, Coleman's going to improve. Okay, I don't know that that'll be enough. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe, give us a ring. Sal at 7. From the Combine, his State of the Bills defensive ends piece is up. We've got McDermott on Vaughn. I'm going to keep banging the drum for bringing Vaughn back. I think bringing Vaughn back is an avenue towards keeping their defensive end position in good shape. We'll run it by Sal. Greg Rousseau up for an extension. Like lots to get to. It's a big offseason for the Bills. So Sal joining us top of the hour here from Indianapolis here on WGR.
Hey, it's Sneaky Joe DiBiase here for Clinton Collision. If your car has taken any kind of hit, be sure to trust the pros at Clinton Collision. Don't let anybody tell you where you need to get your car fixed. Clinton Collision is a family-owned business. They've been serving Buffalo for over 70 years. Whether you've got some sort of fender bender or you got a big dent, handling major repairs, of course, Clinton Collision on Clinton Street in Buffalo is the team that I trust, and so should you. You can book your free estimate by calling 716-823-2000. That's 823-2000. Or you could visit ClintonCollision.com and be sure to tell them that Sneaky Joe sent you.
All right, good stat of the day here for you. Powered by Empire Electric, your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit empireelectricians.com. It's kind of a stat. It is. It's more of a note about the draft.
Okay.
So I saw yesterday.
Note of the day.
Yeah, sure. Statistical note of the day. Andy Provan wrote this.
Okay.
NFL guy.
And he's got all the. He's the one who gives us all the old YouTube Bills footage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he pointed out this is the latest on the calendar that every NFL team still has their first-round pick. There have been no first-round picks traded. Every pick belongs to the team that has it. And it's never gone.
Really?
Yes, we've never gone this late. He points out the other two times it went this deep, Oakland and Tampa struck a trade for John Gruden on February 18th. And the Jags and the Bills struck a trade for Rob Johnson on February 13th.
Yeah.
We've never been at February 25th, and every team has its own first-round pick.
Wow. There's been no first-round pick trade
since 1967.
We got to change that. Someone's got to swap picks, or you can't do that now. Now you know where the order is.
Right. You can make a trade, of course, trade up, trade down, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, interesting note. Look at all these lame GMs.
I know. Well, we're just waiting for Garrett to get traded, right? Because the moment
if
he gets traded, then we'll I'm assuming have some first traded.
That's true. I got to get on my yearly diatribe rant about how many first-round picks there are in this draft. I'm excited for that a little bit later today.
Oh, like grades and such.
Oh yeah. How many firsts?
Didn't we have a guest on recently, not to even disparage them at all, that said, I can't believe I have 16 first-round grades in this class.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that, and I thought, like, I guess I think differently about how that should go.
Yes.
Right?
Scouts
it should just be 32.
There's nothing that a scout or a GM loves more than telling you that they don't have 32 first-round draft picks. They never do.
Right.
I saw
never.
I saw yesterday 13. One guy has 13 first-round picks. Only 13.
Mm-hmm. They just got to call it something else.
Right.
Like, I've only got 13 golden tier prospects this year, guys.
Yes.
That's it.
That's right.
Call it that.
That's right. All right, 803-0550. Sal is in Indianapolis, fresh off vacation. Heard him on the station yesterday. I want to show up in Bulldog. We're going to check in with Sal. You can go to our website, WGR550.com, and check on his State of the Bills series. He did defensive ends, and, of course, he has recapped Sean McDermott confirming some Bills coaching staff changes. McDermott on Vaughn, on Cook, on Coleman, on Kincaid, on the Tush push. We'll get a full recap from Sal, who is in Indy, and that's coming up here on WGR. Jeremy White here for Riverfront Auto Sales, 1379 Niagara Street in Buffalo. If you're thinking about a pre-owned vehicle, get to Riverfront where you can double your tax return. If you have your return, I got my state waiting on federal still. You can bring a check to Riverfront and they will double it. Double your return at Riverfront. So you bring $500, they're going to match that. Now that's worth twice as much. It's $1,000 towards the purchase of a vehicle. Bring $1,000, they'll match it. Now you have $2,000 towards the purchase of a vehicle. So you do the math. Whatever you bring, they're going to match, and that doubles your down payment towards a vehicle at Riverfront Auto Sales. 886-1626. That's 886-1626 to give them a call and get into your next vehicle. If you want to sell a vehicle, you can sell it with the help of Riverfront. They'll make you an instant cash offer or help you get it in front of as many people as possible at auction and get you top dollar as well. 886-1626. That's 886-1626. To buy, to sell, it's Riverfront Auto Sales.
Combine in Indianapolis this week. We'll talk to Sal Capaccio from the Combine coming up. Sean McDermott meeting with the media yesterday. He was there early because he is on the competition committee for the NFL. That competition committee getting a proposal from the Green Bay Packers to ban the tush push. It obviously have to be voted on by league owners. The Packers are proposing that. McDermott, speaking on it yesterday, says he does not like the aesthetic of the play on the injury front, despite maybe there not being the data that backs that up. McDermott spoke on that. Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, and plenty of other things. We'll talk more about it with Sal coming up. There are more Matthew Stafford reports today. Peter Schrager from Fox says that there are teams willing to pay Stafford more than the Rams, and that Stafford wants to be paid more than $50 million per year on his new contract as trade speculation continues to surround Matthew Stafford. Sabres are in action tonight. It is a 7 o'clock puck drop against the Anaheim Ducks. Alex Tuch and Jason Zucker both dealing with injuries. Did not practice yesterday. Lindy Ruff said he'll know more about their availability this morning. And we'll talk to Lindy in about an hour. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Good Tuesday morning. Mr. Sal Capaccio is back. He was back yesterday, though, at the Combine, covering things. Back on our show for the first time in a while, live from Indianapolis. Fresh off a cruise, Sal was following along.
I was going to say, he's not back here. Like, you didn't stop home, right? You went right to Indy,
the grind never stops. He goes right to the Combine.
Wow.
I did. As fat guys, yeah, because the way that it worked this year, just like last year, Sean McDermott, because he's on the competition committee and he has meetings all week, he wants to do the media availability on Monday night. And it's not really even the official start date for the Combine, but, they accommodate him to do that. So we, as the Buffalo local media, need to be here yesterday for McDermott. So I got up at 4:30 in the morning yesterday in Fort Lauderdale and flew here while my wife and son flew back to Buffalo. So I actually came back to Indy to start the week. And then, but I have not been back home. That'll be later this week. So yeah, that's exactly it. But I'll tell you, great cruise, great time. I just needed the sunshine. I mean, it was amazing to get some sunshine for about 7 days. It really was. It was an awesome time. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to visit the Mayan ruins in Belize or near Cancun, or where was it? I think it was Cozumel. We went to Costa Maya, swam with some dolphins. It was just a great time.
Nice.
How much did you eat?
I was going to say, better food on the cruise.
Yeah, too much.
Sal, better food.
That's the right answer.
The cruise or Indianapolis steakhouses? What are you taking?
Ooh. Cruise food's great because it is all free and there's so much of a wide selection. The steakhouses, there are really great steakhouses here. I'm like walking downtown yesterday. Met Josh Reed and Scott Swenson from Channel 4 out for dinner yesterday, and I'm counting like the steakhouse. There's other great restaurants here too, but they do have some great ones. We know, St. Elmo's, Harry and Izzy's, Hyde Park. There's a bunch of them. But man, cruise food is just like it's always there, and there's always something, right? So I think that's what makes it tough.
Even at like midnight, it's just like, pizza, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The ice cream machine just, never stops.
Yeah, Joe, and especially when you have an 11-year-old kid with you, and it's ice cream machine, and it's time for dinner, bedtime. It does not matter.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you back, Sal. Good to have you back. Good to be Combine week. And Sean McDermott spoke yesterday. Lots to get to. Let's start with the competition committee stuff because he's there as a part of it. And, he talked about injury issues of the tush push. There's also just the aesthetic of it. Some people in football just don't like how it looks. I know that Goodell has been against the tush push and wanting to outlaw. Do you feel like, from listening to McDermott or just chatter around the league, is there a little bit of a growing push to get rid of it?
It's tough to say. So this is really interesting for me because I've spoken to several people as well besides listening to Sean, and Sean's comments echoed kind of the things that I heard from people and coming out of the competition committee, which is this essentially. All right. So I think there's a growing sentiment from NFL people. They don't like the play, how it looks, the fact that it doesn't seem like a real football play, but it's like, hey, there's no reason to ban it because there's no injury data supporting it. You don't just ban something because people don't like how it looks. There's trick plays people don't like how they look. So what? It's a trick play. Like, that's what you do. So this is really interesting. And yeah, I know this is going to sound bad, right? But guys, it might just have to take somebody getting hurt for it really to get the kind of real backing to get rid of it that eventually has to happen. So I think it probably even falls here and doesn't even get to the owners' meeting in March. Now it could. It might still get to the owners' meeting in March. They might put it on. They might revise it in some way, shape, or form. But that's the key thing. There's no specific data that gives the league or the committee a reason to say get rid of it, other than we don't like how it looks. And that's not a good enough reason from the people that I've talked to.
Yeah. The one thing I wonder about, they have changed. The kickoff did change because of injuries, but also because it became a boring play. The point after touchdown, right, that got moved, the kick, because it was a boring play. To me, Sal, the best argument against the tush push, if in fact they want to outlaw the pushing from behind, is that in 2005, that's when this all came about. It was previously against the rules. So it's not like they would just be creating some rule. It used to be against the rule to push the runner.
I'm with you, and I'll say it this way too, Jeremy. There is still a rule in the NFL that is called aiding the runner that is illegal. Now, in that rule specifically, it's about going to the other side and pulling the runner forward. And we've even seen the Bills do that. We've even seen Deion Dawkins do that. No one calls it. It's actually supposed to be called. Like, that's a rule on the books that says you can't aid the runner. To me, the tush push actually falls under the category of aiding the runner. I know it's not specifically the pulling him, but I think what you're doing is aiding the runner. Now, what's interesting about this, too, is Sean McDermott has the perfect quarterback for it, and the Bills are very, very, very highly successful. We know what happened in the championship game. I get that. But for his comments, for him to say it that way is really interesting because he's obviously looking at it from a general, holistic view, but he also is in charge of a team that can really take advantage of this more than any other team can, other than how the Philadelphia Eagles have. It's really those teams more than anybody. You also see teams like, when's the last time we've seen Patrick Mahomes do any quarterback sneak? I can't remember one. Now, maybe there's one in there. He's run the ball. But if you guys remember, Patrick Mahomes got hurt on a quarterback sneak at the goal line on a Monday night game a few years ago. And that's the kind of thing, like, because that's why they don't do it. So I think maybe that's part of it too. Some of these coaches are thinking, all it takes is my quarterback to get hurt. But as long as it's a rule, we're going to keep doing it. But at the same time, we keep doing it, we're putting these guys at risk. And on top of that, let's remember Josh Allen actually did kind of get hurt on the tush push in the AFC Championship game. I mean, so much so that we were questioning if he was seriously enough to get hurt to have it looked at even more after the season. Because remember when he was shaking out his hand on the sideline right before halftime?
Yeah, that's right, and that was what McDermott said, is that there's always been an injury risk with that play.
Yes.
But he still allows Allen to do it. The ESPN article that I was reading about it, Sal, said that the Bills and Eagles, I think this was over 3 years. Yeah, here it is. Over 3 years, the Bills and Eagles have run the tush push 163 times. That's more than the rest of the NFL combined. All other 29 teams or 30 teams combined have run it less than the Eagles and the Bills have. And I think the Eagles are probably double what the Bills are on that. But still, McDermott, this is part of his job, though, in the competition committee, though, right? Is he almost kind of has to separate his thought on
exactly right.
what it means for the game versus even if it might hurt his own team.
Sean takes his spot on the competition committee very seriously, as he should. And he has spoken many times about the fact that the people on that committee are stewards of the game. They have to do what's right for not only now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. The decisions that they make are going to impact the game greatly over the next few decades. And he takes that very seriously. So I think he does a good job of removing himself from head coach of the Bills when he puts himself in that position. But that's where it stands right now, guys. And I'd be surprised if it even gets to the owners' meetings. It could. I don't know. I mean, they'll talk about it more this week, but that's when they lay the groundwork for what's actually going to be presented to the actual official, owners meetings, rules changes. So, but right now, that's it. It's basically comes down to, hey, a lot of us don't like it, but there's no actual reason to ban it. We can't just ban something because we don't like the way it looks.
All right. Is there anything else competition committee-wise that is like top of mind? They're talking about the touchback, right? I don't know if McDermott spoke on that, but they're talking about moving the touchback to the 35-yard line.
He said they'll keep talking about it.
Okay.
Kickoffs were up. Injuries were down. Returns were up, I should say. Injuries were down. So I don't know if we'll see a change there, but I think as the season went on, we did see a little bit more of teams just saying we're going to boot it through the end zone, put it at the 30, which is kind of goes against the spirit of why they made the change. So I do wonder, 35 though seems a little bit, I think a lot of coaches are like, I don't want it. That's a little bit too far. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they come up with a 32 or 33, which would be kind of weird, but I think there's got to be some sort of discussion there. The other one is the hip drop tackle. Last year it was more about being fined, and I think what did I hear? I think Judy Batista told me only one time it was actually called, and it was an incorrect call on the field, actually. But there is still a very high injury rate with that specific play, and they may have to focus more on that this year.
Sal Capaccio from Indianapolis talking Bills and Combine. Sean McDermott yesterday talking lots of different things, including the Tush Push Competition Committee. And then there's his own team, Sal. Where do you want to begin? Yeah. There's interesting things to say about Von Miller, Keon Coleman, James Cook. The coaching staff hires as well. Let's start there. They confirmed their coaching staff hires. What trail of breadcrumbs do we have from the moves that they've made at coaching changes?
Yeah, really interesting. So the Bills didn't, come out and publicly make anything official about the reported coaching staff changes over the last couple of weeks, but now we know. Matthew Smiley is out as special teams coordinator, and in is Chris Tabor. Chris Tabor has a lot of experience in this league, and Sean said that was something high on his list of what he wanted, somebody with experience. And it makes sense. The last two coordinators the Bills had in that position, Matthew Smiley and Heath Farwell, were first-time coordinators, special teams coordinators. And there were just too many mistakes made this past year, as you guys know. And even though Sean said when he was asked a few weeks ago, do you expect Matthew Smiley back, he said yes. And he addressed that. And he said, look, at the time, I just want to take my time and evaluate. And that's what he did. And they wound up making a change. So Chris Tabor's the new special teams coordinator. And he brings, a wealth of experience, and he is very, very highly regarded in this league. I'll tell you that. And he worked under Dave Taub, who's now in Kansas City, who's regarded as the best. And I've heard from people around the league who say, like, this guy's right up there with some of the people who you really respect, in that regard. And then the other one is head strength and conditioning coach Eric Ciano. Now, that was reported maybe 2 weeks ago, but the Bills finally, Sean McDermott confirmed that is the case. And I think it's a bit surprising to a lot of people because this is very interesting to me, guys. When you hear a strength and conditioning coach, most fans, and I think understandably, go right to injuries. And the Bills actually were not very injured this year compared to most teams. They did have, I get from fans a lot, oh my God, they had so many injuries. No, they don't. They have a long injury report each week sometimes. That's because the name's on it, but these guys are not missing games generally. Injury reports are long these days because there's lots of gambling and rules because you have to list everybody who's injured and all those kinds of things. But the Bills had, compared to the rest of the league, they had like the fewest number of guys on injured reserve. They did not have many guys, overall man games missed. So when you go to strength and conditioning, why do you move on from the strength and conditioning coach? I believe it's more about the strength than the conditioning. I don't think this move was made. This is me reading the trail of breadcrumbs, as you say, Jeremy. I don't think this move was made necessarily because of some sort of injury rate the Bills have had. I think this move was made because the Bills feel they need to get stronger, and that does include recovery from injuries. Think of what they said about and what they've been saying about Dalton Kincaid, and again said it yesterday. Mm-hmm. Play strength has to get better. He has to get stronger. He has to withstand the rigors and be able to be durable. The way he plays, McDermott said, that's why he's had some injuries, because he's not the biggest guy, yet he plays really hard and he's super competitive. And then they talk about Keon Coleman and coming back from his injury. What did Brandon Beane say? He wasn't the same player. He lost some of that physicality. And then I also think about the fact that I think the Bills feel they need to be stronger at the point of attack. You've had a strength and conditioning coach and staff, essentially the coach, who's been with the Bills for quite a while. To me, it comes down to they probably want a fresh approach and some fresh new ways of doing things. And that doesn't have to be anything against a guy who's done a really good job, Eric Ciano, who's been with the organization. Sometimes it's just a new voice and a new approach. But I think the strength part matters more than the conditioning part here.
Yeah, the point of attack point's interesting too, right, Sal? Because he mentioned, was it Ryan Nielsen, the new coach who's been a coordinator, is going to work primarily with the defensive linemen?
He did. Ryan Nielsen's going to work with the defensive linemen, and he did mention something along those lines as well about him. He also confirmed that Mike Pellegrino will take over the nickel DB coach, which is coincidental. The Bills lost Scott Booker to the Patriots from that position. The Bills grabbed the Patriots nickel coach, so it's like a trade for that specific coaching spot. I think it's interesting that both of these guys, and we've talked about this, come from extensive man-to-man backgrounds, but really everything. And Sean even said, look, that doesn't mean he was asked in a way about switching schemes, and he's like, I think you can't read like that into it, but he said, yes, having the flexibility to run multiple schemes mattered to getting these guys and targeting these guys and wanting them there. Mike Pellegrino's worked with, Bill Belichick, who's done a lot of different things over his career, obviously. So I think, again, just going back to play strength, being stronger as a team, being stronger up front, bringing these specific guys in as coaches, I think all that leads to why some of these moves were made.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. All right, Sal, so Keon Coleman, we'll do that next on what McDermott had to say. It was the end-of-season presser from we heard about Coleman from McDermott and Beane. Beane's going to speak today. I'm sure he'll get asked about the comments from McDermott. Again, I feel like the context is young player. It's a young player. This happens with young players. I think back to James Cook and how they felt about James Cook early on, and now how they feel about James Cook. So no one's writing off Coleman by any stretch. But it does... It jumps out as an interesting kind of thing to track because they are telling us how much they're asking more from him.
You're right about that, Jeremy. And I think about James Cook, too, for this exact reason. Last week when I was on with you and I said, it reminds me of Darcy Regier saying, take ownership of your career. I think they're saying the same thing here. Look, like when you're a young player and you don't understand what it's like to go through a full NFL season and you throw onto that you have an injury that you've never really had to go through something like that before, that's a lot. That's physically a lot. That's mentally a lot. And they need Keon Coleman, I think, to understand everything about being a pro and going from day one till the last day of the season, whenever that is, and making sure he's staying in that same mindset and physical space and everything. And there are a lot of things that go into that. And that's everybody around him working. That goes back to strength and conditioning. That goes back to position coaches and coordinators. But it's the player. The player has to take ownership. The player has to understand. And the player has to learn how to do that. And you said it. Like, no one's writing him off. And McDermott, hey, he's a young player. He's going to learn that. That's on him to learn. It's on the organization also to help him along to make sure that he has the tools to get there. And it sounds exactly to me like it sounded about James Cook a couple of years ago. Whereas now it's a 180 about James Cook, which, by the way, he was asked. We can talk about that. And it sounds, and I think that there's obviously a lot of room there, but they're giving him the room, but they're also kind of externally, publicly putting a little pressure on Keon Coleman to say, we expect him to have this really big second year and be better than what he was as the season went on last year.
Would you expect any of that pressure to be competition in the room? The strong competition, or would you say they kind of already did that? Like Cooper was in the room and Hollins played, so maybe it wouldn't be any different?
I mean, I think they'll add Joe to the position, but I think you go into next year, and this is going to be a tricky one because you have to then I guess the question was going to come down to the Bills and Brandon Beane. How much faith do we have that Keon Coleman's going to be able to take that step? Because that will impact how they approach free agency. That will impact how they approach the draft. If they're very confident that he will do that and they can get him there, then I don't think you have to kind of go beyond. You have Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, and Khalil Shakir, and you can bring Matt Collins back. I mean, yeah, you'd love to add to that group, and that could push Keon Coleman down a little bit. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, and I think it's a good idea to do that anyway. But a lot of that probably depends on how much they really feel confident in that happening.
Yeah, kind of same question before we get to Cook, Sal. He got asked about, Sean McDermott did, about Cole Bishop yesterday. And I don't know that I was expecting this, but I was wondering if he would kind of just sound like Bishop is the starter going into next year. And it didn't fully sound like that.
It's funny. I asked him the question, and I wanted to phrase it in a way, Joe, that I wanted to get maybe you try to make it so maybe you can get an answer that can give you that insight, right? Right. So I'm with you. Like, I was really kind of wondering, like, if they feel, hey, Bishop's our guy, and we really like, and he's going to be right there. And look, Sean's not going to hand anything to anybody. We know that. I think they really believe Cole Bishop can be a starter, and I think they really want him to win the starting job. But as McDermott said, again, young player who's got to come back. And the way he phrased it was, like, he said Cole Bishop's wired the kind of way where I think he'll come in and he'll be hungry to win that job, and he's going to take care of this. But there's no guarantees. You don't know how he comes back. This is his first full offseason in the NFL. And yeah, we like the things that we saw. He will have a chance to win that starting safety role. I'll also say that to me, Damar Hamlin is a free agent. I mean, as I sit here today, I'm not going to say that I think Damar Hamlin is re-signed and becomes the 2025 starter. I'd be pretty surprised. But they have decisions to make at that position. The only guys under contract at that position are Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, and Cam Lewis. That's it. Like, there's an argument to be made that the Bills need to address safety a pretty aggressive way this offseason.
Sal, on defense, you're on Bishop there. How about Von Miller? McDermott referred to his elite mindset or his elite mind for the game. And everywhere I see Miller as a cut candidate to save money, but he graded well on PFF. Here's McDermott raving about his mental approach and how this year was better than the previous year. I still think restructure / extension / figure it out. Isn't he better than whatever, the replacement level player you're going to get, especially if you feel like he brings that added element to the group as a mentor?
Yeah, every time McDermott or Beane get asked about Miller and they're asked, will he be back next year? They don't answer that question directly. And for obvious reasons, right? You don't put yourself into that corner because you're figuring that out. And Sean was asked that yesterday. But his response wasn't whether or not he'll be back. His response was, I love Von. He's mentally elite. He said, I love the way he came back this year. He said he had a better year this year than last year. He did not say anything about contractual status, what his role is or isn't in 2025, if he will be on the team. This really does come down to money, I think, in a lot of ways, guys, right? It's got to come down pretty mostly to money. Yesterday, a little plug here, I did write my State of the Bills defensive end article at WGR550.com. And part of that is always looking at exactly how the contractual numbers work for all these guys. And this is a tricky one for the Bills to me because they have a couple options here with Von Miller, and here's how it basically washes out. If the Bills want to move on from Von Miller just straight now, they say, you know what, we're going to just release Von, we're going to move on, going to be 36 years old. They're going to clear $8.3 million in salary cap space, and that's a nice chunk, and they will have that available immediately in free agency. The problem is they'd have to account $15 million for him on the cap for a player that's not playing. You could do that. That's not like, the Bills have done kind of those things before, and teams do that all the time. So it could very well happen. They could also designate him a post-June 1 release. That would save $17 million this year, and then they'd have to account for only $6 million this year and $6 million next year in dead cap. The issue there is you don't get that $17 million until June 1st. Mm-hmm. So what does it matter, right? So or you could, as you say, you could restructure. You go to him, you could lower the cap number, you could do something like that. I think this is a tricky one that all sides have to kind of, the Bills first and foremost have to figure it out and then go to Von if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I see a restructure could save 10. Like, just, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to track because this is a position, Sal, your State of the Bills series. Defensive end is maybe the one that has the most questions about how different it looks next year. Rousseau, does he get extended or does he play on the fifth-year option? What to do with Von? And then, do they try and land the whale, whoever that whale might be? It could be Khalil Mack. It could be if they trade for Myles Garrett. It appears to be the position that I would say most Bills fans are most dialed in on.
Yeah, it's a good transition. We could talk about what to expect from Brandon Beane today, but let me first say, really interesting looking at the defensive ends yesterday and looking at all the numbers. A guy that I thought was really interesting when I dove into it, guys, is AJ Epinesa. And we don't think of him like this because he was signed to a 2-year contract a couple of years ago. He's been a nice player. He's a little feast or famine, as I wrote. But, next year, he's actually scheduled to count $7.5 million on their cap. And if I'm wondering, is that too high for them to live with? If they were to release AJ Epinesa, they'd save $3 million, count $4 million dead cap space. But a June 1st release for him, they'd save $6 million and only count 1.3 in dead cap. Now, that would be more of the, okay, count him a June 1st release. We have $6 million in the coffers for later to do things as they like to have that extra money available later in the season. But however, that being said, they like AJ Epinesa. He's 26 years old, and it's a position where you're going to create another void, right? Like, so I'm not here to suggest that they should or they're going to move on from AJ Epinesa. My point is there are some decisions that may be made, and maybe one of those decisions, a guy like AJ here, Rousseau, his $13 million, what are you going to do with him? Extension, lower that number. I think they really like Javon Solomon. Javon Solomon's got to figure in here a little bit. Like, he looked good at times, and he flashed at times when he played last year. These are all things that are going to get baked in. So today, Brandon Beane speaks at 2 p.m., and I think he's going to be asked a lot about defensive end. He's not going to address any questions about Myles Garrett. I'm sure he might be asked that, he can't talk about that. Ironically, Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, speaks right before Brandon Beane, like 10:30, somewhere in there. Brandon Beane speaks, I think, did I say 2 or 11? I have to go and look. I think it's 2 p.m. today. Andrew Berry speaks at a little before that today. Either way, he'll also be asked about James Cook. I think that is going to be the number one thing asked of Brandon Beane today is about James Cook. Sean McDermott was asked about that. He just talked again, raved about James, and said Brandon is on top of that stuff, on that situation. He will be on top of that, and the business side will take care of itself.
All right. We'll be listening. What time today for Beane?
2 p.m., unless they change the schedule, which I'm not aware of. We were told 2 p.m. originally. I think that's what he was on the schedule for yesterday.
Okay,
so.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sal.
You got it, guys.
Sal live from Indianapolis at the Combine. Brandon Beane, 2 o'clock today. If you have a thought on anything you heard there, whether it's defensive end, I'm reading about receiver ideas. McDermott said when it comes to receivers, he knows 0.0% going to the Combine because he likes to go in knowing nothing about receivers.
Yep.
Which is fine. Hey, whatever. Saying he likes to go in without any preconceived notions when he meets the guys. So, Lindy Ruff at 8 o'clock. Operation 10 Straight is back on tonight.
We're 10% there.
That's right. 9 to go.
Sabres lead over the Asteroid. Big lead right now. Who goes to 0 first, though, is still a race.
The Asteroid is in shambles right now. The Asteroid's really lost a lot of momentum. Odds to hit Earth way down.
Huge drop. I mean, that's a third period collapse like you've never seen. 3% to .004.
Real fast, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy and Joe on WGR.
Stinky Joe DiBiase here. It is the season of love, even though we're past Valentine's Day. Still time for hearts, flowers, and showing how much we care. Love is not, though, just about romantic gestures. It's also about our community and helping those in need. And right here in Buffalo at Roswell Park, there is a critical need for something that is truly life-giving, that is blood, and especially platelet donations. Roswell Park's Donor Center calling on you. Share your love this February by giving the gift of life. Every pint of blood, every platelet donation stays right in Buffalo at Roswell Park, helping patients as they fight cancer. Your donation will directly impact the lives of those at Roswell Park. It's a very easy process. You go in, it's on the right, like immediately. Like, they don't have to make you look for it. You sit down in these big comfy chairs. They make you comfortable. You can play around on your phone while you're doing it. It's a powerful way to express your love for the community and its people. Visit RoswellPark.org to schedule your blood or platelet donation, or you can call the Donor Center directly at 1-800-ROSWELL. That's 1-800-ROSWELL. Give the gift of life, give blood, give platelets, and give love at the Donor Center at Roswell Park. Combine this week in Indianapolis. Sean McDermott there early for the competition committee. He spoke yesterday. Brandon Beane will speak this afternoon. McDermott on the Tush push, which has been proposed to be banned by the Green Bay Packers, says he does not love the aesthetic of it, and he's always felt that there is an injury risk to it. You can hear McDermott on that. Also saying that they need more from Keon Coleman, and they reiterating that they need Dalton Kincaid to get stronger. Many other comments from McDermott on our website, WGR550.com. The reporting on Matthew Stafford from yesterday from Peter Schrager is that there are teams willing to pay Stafford more than the Rams are, and that Stafford is looking for $50+ million a year on a new contract. Sabres in action tonight, 7 o'clock against the Anaheim Ducks. Alex Tuch, Jason Zucker, questionable for tonight's game. See if we get more details from Lindy Ruff in about a half hour. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
I have 10 first-round grades on defensive linemen in this year's draft class. It is absolutely loaded. You have guys like Abdul Carter of Penn State, Mason Graham of Michigan, Michael Williams of Georgia. And I believe this is the most loaded group defensive line-wise since 2019. And if you remember, in that group, it included names like Nick Bosa, Dexter Lawrence, Quentin Williams, Jeffrey Simmons, Christian Wilkins. The list goes on and on of the players that we saw in that draft class. So 4 to 5 years from now, when it's time for these guys to sign a second contract, it would not surprise me if they're mentioned in the same breath as that special 2019 class.
Jordan Reed on the defensive line class. 10 first-round defensive line grades.
That's a
I
lot.
thought he was going to say I only have 10 first-round grades.
Yeah. You reacted in
I
here
was
as though you had 10
I was ready to get mad all over again.
And him to be like, I can't, 10 guys. Holy cow.
Listen,
it's a ton.
I've reached a point where I think now that draft season is the way to sound hardcore is to have the fewest first-round grades possible. Guys, I only have 6 first-round grades. Sorry.
Is it your number one draft pet peeve?
It's way up there. Way,
Do a power
way
ranking of
up there.
draft pet peeves.
Oh, there's only 13 first-rounders this year. No, there are 32. Well, I only have 13 grades. Well, your grading system's broken. Sorry.
Is it worse than the team afterwards saying he was number one on our board? What's worse?
That's tradition. And I know, scouts, if you're out there, you're a scout or a GM or someone that you love it. And you love to say you don't have 32 first-round grades. There will be 32 first-round picks. Just like there will be, how many days in this month? This is the month I don't even know. 28 days in this month. I only have 17 February caliber days. Well, there are going to be 28 of them. So figure it out. There are going to be 32 first-round picks.
Yep.
I only have 13. Oh, all right. Great. Wow. How many second-round picks do you have? 9. How many third-round picks do you have? I've got 24. Right. By the end of your draft process, 700 players get drafted. You only have 100 with grades. These are the only guys who should be drafted.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. It's all fine. I'm just going to start saying I have 5 first-round grades. Only 5. It's Abdul Carter, and everybody else is a second-round pick.
I would like to ask
where I'm at right
these
now.
people, like all aspects of the NFL. Hey, the guy that thinks there's 15 first-round grades, how many number one receivers are in the NFL? Because isn't that like technically it's 32, right?
No,
Oh, you don't like that one as much?
I don't like that one.
Well, there are 32 people are their team's number one receiver.
Well, you just have convinced me now that these people are all right in the way they say it.
Oh, really? I worked the other way?
You did it with
I
receivers.
thought I was reinforcing
You spoke my language. All of a sudden, now I get it. No. All right, 803-0550. On the Keon Coleman conversation, on the Tush push as well. Let's reset where we are on that. The Tush push, Sean McDermott wants to see it go away. Are you in favor of banning the Tush push? We have a Twitter poll up and a poll up on our YouTube chat as well. Yes and no split. How about this? How about this for the Tush push web poll? Ready? You want it banned? Yes, 35.5%. No, 35.5%. Could take it or leave it, 29%. Doesn't exactly strike me as a pressing issue to NFL fans. Like, sure, no, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let me know what you're going to do. It is worth pointing out that McDermott's trying to ban something his team does well. And I don't think
is this a signal that he maybe doesn't want to do it long term because he said it. What were his exact words? I've always seen it as an injury risk.
Yep.
But an injury risk to who? Does he see it as injury risk to his quarterback or to the linemen that are piling themselves in? Those are, when I mentioned earlier, like everybody, puts their neck down and like lines their heads up one-on-one. Like those are mostly the linemen that are doing that.
I saw yesterday Jason Kelsey talking about how the tush push sucks if you're the center. It's the worst.
Yeah.
You hate it. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like in there anyway. I don't think they'll ban it. I support the idea of banning it. I think it's a good idea to get rid of it. Just get rid of pushing the quarterback. You can still quarterback sneak. You can still tell me how much Jalen Hurts squats when he's pushing forward. We can have all that.
Yeah.
You just can't push him from behind. That's what I would do. Mike in Connecticut. Hey, Mike, good morning.
Good morning. I was going to say I am in favor of banning the tush push. I think, I don't think Allen took many big hits this year, from when he was like a rookie in his second year. Yeah, he did take a few like trick play against the Ravens. There was a few. But the reason for my call was listening to Sean McDermott's presser yesterday. I support Brandon Beane, and I think he's made some good decisions, but the way that the interviews go sometimes, they just seem like they don't align. Like I remember watching the combine last year, and Keon ran whatever it was at his 40, and I'm like, all right, well you can cross Keon off our list. We don't need that. We need a field stretcher. And then we pass up on the fastest guy to ever run in the combine, torches us in the AFC Championship, absolutely balls out in the Super Bowl. And now it's like, whatever Keon's thing is, whether it's maturity, injury, whatever the case may be, it's like, we did it to ourselves. Like, even if you didn't like Worthy, I don't know what Keon Coleman's ceiling is because, he's not that separator. And I don't know. It's just like concerning because I think the depth on our team is really well. And I think we're going to draft well in the middle rounds, but I'm not sold that I'm convinced we're going to hit on a first round pick. And I hate to be, negative, but I thought Keon was really starting to come into his own at Seattle, like midway through the season, but it's just, I don't know. I think he has good hands, but I'm concerned with how they view it. But ultimately, the front office and Brandon Beane, they did it to themselves if this is what they're dealing with.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah. The thing about Worthy and all the speed receivers, Worthy, the story from Tyler Dunn, he spoke to Worthy. They did like Worthy. They told him we're going to take you, and then decided to go another direction, which is, that's fine. So it's one of the things that's interesting is when that whole thing played out, we thought, well, we know they don't like that guy, but they did like that guy, and he and Joe Brady vibed really well. And the other guys they brought in, we went over this a little bit earlier, Devontae Walker, Troy Franklin. It was speedsters. They interviewed a lot of the speedsters and a lot of the vertical guys, and in Coleman they got just a different type of weapon, and that can still go really well. They can still find what Coleman does well, and he could be a part of something great. He had a strong start to the season, and it went away, injury, immaturity, whatever it might be. I've got a lot of people, whenever you see a quote about receiver speed, Beane says it again, McDermott says it again, Bills fans are starting to get to a space, at least when they write to me, Joe, where they say, like, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. They always say that, and then they don't get that guy. They say that, and then the answer to that is Deontay Hardy or no, Isaiah McKenzie's role will grow. And this is a little bit of the Coleman point. I don't want to sit here and just live Coleman will just be ready for that step up. They've been doing that at receiver for a long time. McKenzie, Gabe Davis, no, he'll just have a bigger role, and it'll just work out. Maybe they're right about that if that's what they do with Coleman, but it's one of the reasons I tweeted this morning, and I'm saying this morning, I'm elevating, shocker here, I'm elevating receiver a little bit just because of what they're saying about Coleman. Cooper and Mac Hollins are not under contract. We'll see if one of them comes back or both. I've got Coleman as my only thing on the outside, and they're flat out telling us we need a lot more there. He's not giving us what we expect from him. He has to be better. If you're saying that now, then I think you have to approach the offseason knowing that might not come. We've got to try to get a more bankable asset there.
You put it that way, and I'm wondering if I should be keeping my radar up for a bigger idea. That The two other outside receivers aren't under contract, and the one guy that is, they're talking this way about. If they want, they're kind of barren at that position right now. At this moment, this very moment, they're kind of nowhere on it. The problem is there just aren't really any.
It's not a great year for it.
There's no big ideas out there. Unless you want to go trade everything for T. Higgins, and I just don't see that happening. And that's if the Bengals would even trade him to you.
Yeah, it'd be surprising.
Or aren't going to just pay him themselves.
And the next best idea, Hollywood Brown.
I bet you if the Seahawks hadn't really sounded like they're committed to Metcalf, was that 2 weeks ago when they introduced the new offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
If there was more Metcalf noise, I bet you that's all we'd be talking about today.
Oh, I'll give you another name.
All we'd be talking about today.
Possibly. What about Devontae Adams? He'll be a free agent.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right answer, but it's possible.
Yep.
803-0550. Of course, there's tons on the defensive side. Like, I expect a lot of the draft to be Kenneth Grant and defensive end ideas and Myles Garrett. Big offseason.
Corners, safeties.
Yeah, all of it. 803-0550 on the Tush Push, on Coleman, Kincaid, all that good stuff. Lindy Ruff coming up at 8 o'clock. Sabres and Ducks tonight. We have open phones for you if you want to give us a ring on WGR. Jeremy White here for Wayland Brewing. Went this weekend to Wayland. Always a good decision. We actually went to Emery Park, which I'd never been to before. Family, skiing, all that good stuff. And then down in the South Towns, stopping at Wayland, and had a great time, as always. Here's a couple reviews for you on Wayland. The Pizza Bianca, incredible. Detroit-style pizza, got that. Had some at Wayland. Had some for dinner later on. Brought it home, heated it up. Amazing. The food at Wayland is top-notch. Got the cashew dip again, of course. Kids got chicken and French fries. Brought some beer home. The Nebula beer is a hazy IPA. Love that one. Ultramarine is a blueberry ginger sour. Brought that just to kind of mix it up a bit. At Wayland Brewing, the food, the scene, the beer, it's just the best. And, again, we were down there in East Aurora, so it became hey, let's stop at Wayland with some friends. And we did. And while there, ran into a listener who said, I hear you say you bring the family here all the time. And I was able to say, and here we are. Wayland Brewing. Best spot. Stop by 3740 North Buffalo Street in Orchard Park. Beautiful tap room. They have big parties, whether it's a wedding or a corporate event or a shower or a charity function. Like, put your event at Wayland. Everyone's going to have a great time. Be very impressed. 18,000 square feet of space. They can accommodate up to 200 guests. And for a limited time, you can book a midweek event with 75 or more guests between April and July and pay zero room fee. So plan your celebration today at Wayland Brewing Company in Orchard Park. Wayland, where every event's a celebration.
For 3. We needed it.
Yeah.
We're on a scoring drive.
Best shooting at 50%.
What was that?
That is the Prairie View A&M PA announcer against Mississippi Valley State University.
The Prairie View A&M and the Mississippi Valley State. I'm going to go with the Wildcats against the Bulldogs.
And the guy's got like a
slide whistle. Hit me with that again. What's that PA announcer even doing? You got more of that? PA announcer's going nuts with a soundboard.
For 3.
He's got sirens and he's got smoke.
We needed it.
Yeah.
We're on a scoring drive.
And there's like nobody in the stands.
I'm looking at the picture now.
Panthers.
There's like 10 people in the stands, basically.
The Panthers
all
versus
that.
the Devils.
Of course.
I mean, we should really calm it down based on how many people are in the place, right? Like, listen, Sabres. Tuesday nights, maybe just 80% volume.
Hey.
Fridays and Saturdays, you want to go nuts and blast it, fine. Tuesdays, when there's 13,000 people at most in the building, like, just, I'm not turning it all the way down, like 10%, 20% lower.
This is not the attitude to have as we continue Operation 10 straight. They have one win in a row. They have to have a 10-game win streak to get back in the playoff race, and tonight they go for win number 2. If they lose tonight, we start over again. You're not out of time. We got to win 10 in a row somewhere.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to get back in this thing. Operation 10 straight continues tonight against Anaheim, who will not have Trevor Zegras.
All right, he gets suspended.
He did. The Ducks are.
Or he was supposed to get suspended. Did he get suspended?
Maybe he appealed?
Officially? No, he did. He did. 3 games.
No Zegras. The Ducks also traded for Ville Husso.
Oh, for future considerations.
And then the Ducks tweeted, "Best of luck to future considerations."
Yeah.
Thank you to future considerations and best of luck in Detroit. Solid tweet.
Imagine if that future consideration somehow becomes something someday. Because
never.
Eventually,
That'll
that
never
can
happen.
become something.
Never happen.
I don't mind future considerations. I just want to see them traded somewhere else or be used.
Well, we're still waiting. Isn't Tim Murray supposed to get a favor from the Capitals for something? There was something like that, wasn't there?
Maybe.
There was a favor owed.
Rob Ray was
never
traded to Ottawa for future considerations, wasn't he?
Call him up. See what they say. Hey, you guys,
What's the statute of
2003.
limitations?
What is future considerations? Can you call the GM and ask to get a tee time on a course up there? Like, hey, could you hook me up? Remember that trade in '99?
Yeah.
You guys owe us future considerations.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I need a ride to the rink. The bus is going without me. Can you send a car? All I want is these future considerations to actually be put into practice.
I think they should have to now. You have to change it. You have to do something. Like, it doesn't have to be a player, but you have to be creative. So remember I don't know if this was real, but in the movie Moneyball, part of the trade that Billy Beane makes, like as a throw-in, is you've got to pay for my soda for the year. Like, I don't want my guys paying for soda anymore. So he made the team he was trading with, like, this player's going here for this, and then you've got to fill my vending machine for the year.
I like it.
That should be no more future considerations. You want Ville Husso? All right, you're doing my laundry for a year.
Yes.
You're sending me dish detergent for a year. You're supplying me with that. Whatever it is.
Ville Husso has been traded to Anaheim. In return, Detroit will have all Zamboni costs covered by the Ducks for the next 3 years. That's it.
Or even something like a good bottle of scotch is going back to general manager Steve Yzerman.
These are proper trades. Yeah. This is what we need. So the Sabres continue Operation 10 straight. They'll be home tonight against the Ducks, and we'll chat about it with Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Update on Jason Zucker, Alex Tuck maybe as well. Both had injuries in the Sabres' last win. So Sabres and Ducks tonight. Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff coming up. Jeremy White here for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of WGR. Big NBA game tonight. FanDuel giving all customers a 50% same-game parlay profit boost for tonight's matchup. The Mavs and Lakers meet for the first time since that blockbuster trade. Will Luka come out and show the world what's up? Perhaps an all-Luka same-game parlay, 25 or more points, 6 or more assists, 8 or more rebounds. Put it together how you want. But mix and match with players on either team for an even bigger payout. Visit FanDuel.com/White to get your same-game parlay profit boost for tonight's Mavs-Lakers game. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
It's Combine Week in Indianapolis. Bills head coach Sean McDermott there early as he is on the league's competition committee. McDermott yesterday speaking on the proposed ban of the tush push that the Packers put forward. McDermott saying he does not like the aesthetic of the play and has always believed that there is an injury risk, sounding like he's maybe against the play. He also spoke on the kickoff rule and then, of course, the Bills' issues such as Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, and plenty of other things. That's on our website, WGR550.com. Sticking with football, Matthew Stafford, according to Peter Schrager of Fox Sports, has teams that would be willing to pay him more than the LA Rams would, and that Stafford is looking for more than $50 million a year on his next contract. To hockey, the Sabres are in action tonight, 7 o'clock against the Anaheim Ducks. We'll have pregame starting at 6 here on WGR. We'll talk more about it with Lindy Ruff coming up next. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Now we'll get to Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff ahead of tonight's game with the Anaheim Ducks. Jeremy and Joe on this warmish Tuesday morning, like a rain-snow mix. Lindy, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Good. First order of business, can you tell us about Rob Ray's availability tonight?
I don't know. We're going to get an update when he gets in today. So
okay.
Knowing Razor, I think he's going to be able to go.
Yeah. That's it was an incredible moment, and I appreciated your story. You got hit with a puck. Was it last year in New Jersey?
Yeah, I got one. I got one in the head last year too with New Jersey, and the doctors there ruled me out for the last period, which is the first period I've ever missed.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, you could have said whatever you wanted there though, because you're not on a mic. Although I feel like, Lindy, that. If you get hit with a puck, I feel like all bets are off for the FCC.
I think it's all bets off, too, for sure.
Well, tonight, Anaheim, let's get the other injuries updates out of the way, whatever you might be able to tell us. Jason Zucker, Alex Tuck, both on this list of players to check in on.
Both guys were hoping to have skate this morning. It'll be an optional skate down here, but those two guys will go out and test and see if they're able to go. So I won't know a lot until after they skate this morning.
But I would just kind of guess there that neither is thought to be a long term if they're already ready to skate this morning.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that if they don't play, we're looking at day to day and in all likelihood back for the next game.
All right.
Good news on Tuck, too, right? Because when he's down, Lindy, I don't know if you thought the same thing, but it looked like, not knowing yet what it was, that it could have been bad.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first thing you go to was, maybe knee, ankle, or something like that, but it wasn't anything like that. So I think we got good news. And in speaking with him yesterday, he was feeling good, and, he was hoping he'd have a good day and then come in here this morning and skate and be ready to go.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff joining us. So tonight, Anaheim and the stretch run here. What was it like the first game back after the lengthy break? Were you a little bit concerned about players finding a way to kind of just jump back in? Were practices a little more lively to kind of make sure that didn't happen? What was your expectation on the first game back?
Well, we had a real good week of practice. The first 2 days, real demanding, real hard. Kind of erred on the side where we go longer. Practices were both over an hour long, and you don't really have hands on your players through a 8-9 day break, so you use that first day to judge where you think they're at. I think some of our guys were in a real good place. I thought other guys were playing a little bit of catch up. I thought day 2 was an even better day. We kind of mapped out a strength day, off ice training day on the third day, and then back at it. I thought we really skated well. I thought we came out well. It was one of those times you don't really know, and I think you see around the league what you're going to get from your club. There's a lot of high scores, a lot of play that I think coach was probably disappointed in, and we were on the better end of it, which is what I like.
You got out to another big first period lead. You're best team in the league this year in the first period. Are you feeling like this is a game where you're up 5-0, so the lead is big enough for sure, and then the third you get a couple. Are you feeling like there's progress being made when you are building those leads, how the team continues to play after the fact in the second and third?
No, I do. I think we're in a better place as a group. We're trying to, just maintain this consistent style of play. And I think every coach with whatever system they're playing, believes that if they can get consistent play night in, shift in, shift out, when you get a big lead, there's a case in point. If you're going to give up something, make sure it's not a high quality opportunity and don't get loose. I think in the past we've got a little bit loose, and it's allowed teams to kind of claw their way back. The Rangers scored a real nice power play goal, the deflection by Kreider, and then they got pretty lucky on their second one. And I liked the way we were playing. We weren't giving up much, and we were still generating some good quality opportunities. So I think we've learned our a real hard lesson. We had some tough losses. I think it's made us tougher, and we've moved on from it, and I think we're better for it.
Two goals from Ryan McLeod on Saturday. He's now set his career high already. He's only at 52 games on the year. From what you knew about his game before this year, how much of his season do you think is about his growth of his game versus just getting more opportunities than maybe he would have, had availability for in Edmonton?
Yeah, great. I knew, quite a bit about him. Coached his brother in New Jersey, obviously. Both these guys are dynamic skaters, and in our case, we knew how well he could skate, and we felt he had a good all-around game. Been known a little bit more for his defensive play, but we thought we could get some good offense out of him, and I think he's proving that. His speed alone has generated a lot of good opportunities, and he's finishing on some of those opportunities now. So he's got his game in a real good place, and he's going to be an important piece here for us down the stretch.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff on the Western Hotline. Lindy, we talked a little bit last week about, I'm saying Joe and I talked about something that you had mentioned. I saw Paul write about it, the bold plan, getting 7 out of 10, kind of how to get to the end of the season and have a chance. And while that might not exactly be likely, I feel like it's important to have done the math. Do you find that presenting it, the players, it kind of gives them a clear goal? Is that something mentally to make sure, hey, there's no reason not to dial in here to try and shoot for something?
Yeah, we felt as a coaching staff that we needed to set some goals, what would be a realistic goal to try to, claw our way out of the trench that we built for ourselves. And, we've played strong hockey here, last 20, 25 games, and we've won 5 out of 6. And knowing that we did look at where the last wild card team would probably end up in a range, and felt we'd give the team goals to get to that point, knowing that, your last 4 or 5 games of the season would be really important. I'd love for us to early on here exceed those goals and, put together an even better run, which I think we're capable of. I think the way we played last game proves that we are capable of that. But there's a lot of things that, go into winning the game, and some nights you can get beat by goaltending, and we've been beat a lot of nights or we've let an opposition goaltender beat us, where we haven't scored enough. I think if we can get the scoring and take advantage of our opportunities and play solid defensively, there's no reason we can't claw our way back into position.
When you're doing that math, do you feel like the way that we just kind of talk about how you did it is better than, just putting up on the board like, hey, we got to win 7 in a row here? when there's an off game or when there's a game where a bad bounce goes your way, it's like, oh, goal over, kind of like this kind of keeps it in the picture more?
I do. I think that, when you're looking at 7 out of 10, it allows for a game where things don't go your way. You've got maybe an overtime loss or whatever, but the 7 out of 10, we know 7 out of 10 is demanding. You get in this part of the season, and everybody needs points. There's this group of teams that are hanging on to a wild card spot, and there's a group of teams that are clawing away trying to get into a wild card spot. So every night you're going to have an opportunity to play a team that's going to help you gain ground on one of those spots. So those numbers are realistic, and we set some goals with goals against and goals for, and some special teams goals that we feel if our special teams can maintain a certain rate through those 5 games, that'll help us win. So not just about points, but about how we get to those points. And goals against is a big deal. We got to cut down the goals against and maintain, a 3+ goals for to be a consistent club.
Trade deadline's a week from Friday. What kind of conversations are you having with Kevin Adams about that? About long-term ideas, short-term ideas? As we get to about 10 days away, is it a day-to-day conversation about what the group looks like, who the core pieces are?
It is a day-to-day. Kevin is very interested in, breaking down post-game and looking at what we think and what we see and where we feel that we are as a group. I think this is a time of year where every team out there is trying to make a decision, whether they can get better. I know there's teams out there that, talk about the selling or, maybe it's time to regroup. I don't believe we're in that position. I think you always should be in a position to make yourself better. One game at a time, and sometimes it's one piece that can really push you over the line to becoming an even more consistent team when it comes to winning hockey games.
And you have 6 games before that deadline, and we'll see what happens. Do you think, especially in these 6 games and maybe beyond that, knowing that Tuck's got this injury and Zucker, is this the fullest maybe you feel like the lineup has been for you all year, where you have the clearest picture of it? Because obviously Greenway missed a lot of time and Tage missed some time earlier in the year. Just you look at the lineup now and it just kind of feels more clear than other times during the season.
I totally agree with you, and you've mentioned a couple guys, and you look at what Darlene has battled through for a good part of the year. So when it comes to the people back in the lineup, the health of the lineup, and knowing that Tuck and Zucker aren't long term, I think it is. We're in a good place to evaluate what kind of team we are. Are we that consistent team that we can win? At that 650, 700 rate to get us there. Is this group good enough to, have special teams that can win that special teams battle every night? Because that's really important too at this time of year. So I think you're right. The group right now we're in as good a place as we've been since maybe. I don't know if we've been this good because early in the year we had Darlene that was nursing injury, missed some camp, so. I think probably right now with the break coming and coming out of this break, we're almost as healthy as we can be, and we've got everybody except for the 2 guys we've mentioned in the lineup.
With more guys available, one on Zach Benson, he's kind of looked like he's been playing more on a defensive role lately. Is that something that you think he's been doing well at? He still has an assist in a couple games in a row, but would you agree with that he's kind of taking on more of a defensive role lately?
I don't know if I would use the word defensive. I haven't talked to him about a defensive role. I just talked to him, just about playing hard. The kid plays hard. He plays with a lot of passion. If anything, I talked to the whole group about how well we need to play defensively as a group, those 5 guys on the ice. So there really is no defensive talk with individual players. I think when you're I mean, he was up the lineup for a while. When you're down there, in that third or fourth line, he's still killing penalties. He's an important piece for us with how hard he plays. It's not about the defensive part. I think it's about just playing real hard and trying to make a difference every shift you go out there.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Lindy, before we let you go, want to give a closing thought on the Four Nations? We had fun talking about it with you, and of course the entire hockey world loved to watch it. And the final lived up to it.
It was incredible. It was a tournament that was just great for the game all the way around. To end up with Canada, U.S., what a hockey game it was. And, I think we all agree that, 2 or 3 really big saves in overtime by the Canadian goaltender Benson, and the game could have went that way. And all of a sudden you get possibly the world's greatest player gets a open in the hole, and, it takes him a split second to put it in the top corner. So what a tournament. What a great look for the game, and the energy in that tournament was incredible.
Yeah. Well, Lindy, best of luck tonight, and thanks for the conversation.
You're welcome, gentlemen. Thank you.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff for his weekly hit with us here as we prepare for Sabres and Ducks tonight.
Dog of the day tonight?
Duck,
of course.
Duck. Confit.
Come on, easy. What? Confit?
Yeah.
Is that duck?
Yeah. It's
if I ever see that on a menu, that's
slow-cooked duck.
I thought it was confit.
It probably is.
Confit? Not confit?
Yeah, it's for duck confit. There you go.
Wait, you Americanize it no matter what because you don't want to.
I'm going to say it. I'll be honest.
How do you order filet mignon just like that?
All I'm saying is I've seen the words the duck we're just discussing, but never spoken them out loud until right now.
Right.
And I went for it. And if it's wrong, that's fine. I'm uncultured. But yes, you could.
But will you do it though because you don't want to sound like, oh, look at me, I'm cultured? Gnocchi. When I order
gnocchi.
Yeah.
What else are you going to call it?
I think there's a different way to do it. Pierogi. Padogi is another one.
There's
right?
one.
Like,
okay.
Are you doing it in like the native tongue, or are you going to do it like do it my way? Because look at this guy over here. He knows how to pronounce it.
So far, your examples were filet mignon and gnocchi, and I don't know
that's a tough one.
How else would you say those? You're saying like
what I'm saying is, if you knew it was confit, would you still say confit?
No, I would say what I think is right. Yeah, I would. However you tell me to pronounce this, how I would pronounce it. What other foods would you do that with?
I think I might be tapped out. Pierogies, gnocchi, and filet mignon are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. What about like an au jus?
Au jus? What about like capicola? There's the one. There's the one.
Right. You say capicola.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
I say capicola. I don't want to be the look at me guy with the, this guy's Italian.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So you're telling you're like home with your family. You're just saying are they calling you out on that?
No.
All right. Anyway, hot dog.
If one of my like great uncles that live in Italy came over and heard me do it, he might be not happy about it. But
we should pour one out, or at least go back to great moments in hot dog of the day, because the Weekend Ranger hot dog was amazing.
Yeah,
I can't believe I didn't get it.
What was on it? There was like rye bread, croutons,
pastrami. It looked great. Tonight, duck.
Yeah, it gotta involve duck. Unless could you do like the Temu salami? Maybe put some salami on the hot dog. Yeah, Saturday's day game, the CBGB was pastrami, spicy brown mustard, slaw, pickles, and rye croutons.
Yep, that's amazing.
That was the dog on Saturday.
That is a win.
Yeah.
Sabres. I think tonight is Black History Night.
Okay.
So maybe something with that, because I think they have like special food around the arena tonight. I saw a video yesterday.
Okay.
Can we do a themed dog on Rob Ray getting hit in the head with a puck somehow? I don't know how you would pull that off, though.
Yeah, tonight, Sabres is, Black History Celebration tonight. All right.
Come on, FCC, let that one slide.
The Rob Ray
dog.
Swear.
You have a mini hockey puck at the top of the hot dog, like implanted into the hot dog.
There you go.
Trying to find details on like what that entails tonight. What else is good? Special food and beverage offerings. Okay, yeah, they've got special food and beverage offerings. I'll read you some of what's going on here. Bricks Collaborative, a community-driven organization co-founded by Shay Arnold and Ronnie DuBose. Their 100-level food court to engage with fans. What are the food options here? Okay. Crenshaw's Chicken and Waffles.
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be stuff at the Greek chicken and waffles, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, chocolates, baked goods, a loaded burger. I should go to this game.
Yeah.
And hot dog. I think we've got the hot dog of the game.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
There's going to be hot dogs of the game. The menu, the Black
Hot
History.
dogs of the game?
Maybe. There's one called the Black History Celebration hot dog, foot long, topped with red beans and rice. And the Tiger hot dog, which is a foot long, topped with teriyaki chicken and potato mac salad.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. That's at sabres.com.
That sounds really good.
803-0550. We're going to debut the free agent idea of the day.
Let's go.
Free agency is around the corner, and we can't do it once free agency's over and the players have already signed. So, free agency idea of the day for the Bills. Someone they can add. We'll get to that next. Jeremy and Joe here on WGR.
Sean McDermott speaking at the Combine yesterday. Brandon Beane will this afternoon. You can check out McDermott's comments on the Odyssey app and WGR550.com on banning the Tush push, which has been proposed by the Green Bay Packers, on the rookie season for Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, plenty of other things from McDermott. To Matthew Stafford, there is a report from Peter Schrager of Fox Sports that there are teams willing to pay Stafford more than what the Rams are willing, and that Stafford is looking for $50 or more million per year on his next contract. The Sabres are in action tonight, 7 o'clock puck drop against the Anaheim Ducks. Not known yet whether Alex Tucker, Jason Zucker will play. We'll have pregame starting at 6 here on WGR. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
I actually wrote in like the best way I could sum up what I'm looking for. Detailed and experienced coaching, a player supportive ownership, just honest culture setting, men leading head coach with a goal and a standard he holds everybody to. A team that wants to win and has players with like-mindedness about the team's goals and standards, leaders that want to lead and set examples by action, not by their word. I think that in itself is, what I'm really looking for. Not necessarily saying that it's not at the Dolphins,
right?
But in general, that's like my mindset for what I want.
Safety Javon Holland, who is not being franchise tagged by the Dolphins. All right. This is all the things I want. Not that that's not the Dolphins, but
yeah, he's kind of saying it's not the Dolphins.
It is a good look into a football player. It's free agency, Joe, and we all think, oh, guys, he's going to go hit the market and get a lot of money. He didn't just want a chance to win. He's talking about every single element of it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing where you call friends that are on different teams and say, what's it like there? Is it this? Is it this? And as he's laying out that whole list of things, I'm reminded of a few things that Bills players say about playing here. One, they let you be yourself. That's a common refrain. And the other is they want you to be the best version of yourself. A lot of teams might say that. I think the Bills have a lot of positive reviews from their own players in both those departments.
And I think all of those checks that he just went down, the Bills check each box, right?
Okay.
Detailed and experienced coaching, check.
Yeah.
Honest culture, check. Men leading HC is the tweet summary I'm looking at.
A leader of men? Sure.
Leader of men.
I think McDermott gets credit for that, sure.
Team that wants to win.
Yeah.
Check. You would take that seriously here. Leaders that want to lead and set examples by actions, not by their word.
Okay.
Check. Right.
The Bills only have 2 captains. I wonder if they'll go back to more this year, right?
Sure.
This year in transition was down from 8 down to Allen and Bernard.
Allen's going to give a guy like that, though, all he needs, isn't he? Like, I don't need 7 guys that are going to fit that. If Josh Allen fits that description, then a guy that has that as a requirement is going to check that box, I think. Just on Josh Allen, I would think.
Okay.
All right, do we want him?
Javon Holland?
Sounds like he'd be. He fits. The Bills fit his parameters.
Well, if we're going to talk about Javon Holland as the free agent idea of the day, we got to hit the fancy open we made for it.
He was not our free agent.
We want to do him. Well, here it comes. Free agent idea of the day.
And now, the free agent idea of the day.
I'm out there, Jerry, and I'm loving every minute of it.
61 a quarter, 61 a quarter, 1 a hand, a minute and 75, a minute, a minute, a minute, 75, a minute, 175, a minute, a minute, 1 half, a minute, 75.
It's just a reason to play this auctioneer guy.
That's all it is.
What's his name?
Wade Leist.
Wade Leist. Who doesn't love Wade Leist? All-time auctioneer. So, do you want to do Javon Holland?
He's 24.
All right, there it is. We're doing Javon Holland.
Let's do it. He's from Canada.
Points? Where in Canada?
British Columbia.
Okay, maybe not. Not that it's bad to be from British Columbia. I feel like you're not exactly... you are closer to home.
Future Olympian by that standard, right? Isn't he going to be on Team Canada at the flag football?
Okay.
If there's NFL players. He is... Didn't you have this yesterday? PFF He's, by the way, like from Vancouver, basically.
Okay. He's a guy that had a couple injuries.
A down year.
Yeah. His PFF grades have not been great lately.
Okay.
But he is better in coverage than most of the Bills' secondary.
Does he, though... Do they even care about this? McDermott saying yesterday, Cole Bishop will have the opportunity to compete for a starting job. I kind of feel like Holland, if you sign him, there is no compete.
I agree with that.
But you might say I don't care about that.
So,
like, just I don't need. You know what? We said it, but whatever. We're not. Bishop doesn't have a spot to compete for. Whatever. We signed Javon Holland.
Javon Holland. The thing about him. So market value. I've got Spot Trek puts him at about 15 a year. PFF puts him at 19 a year average.
Okay.
It's a big contract. Here's the thing about him. If you just want to do PFF grade, there's a lot of ways to look at this. And again, like, would he fit the kind of safety the Bills want? Last year, Joe, PFF ranked him as the third best safety in the sport.
Last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2023, he was safety number 3. This year, he dropped to 56. So, I mean, with Vic Fangio, who was in Miami 2 years ago?
By 2 years ago, where are we in the NFL calendars? 2 years ago, 2023 or 2022?
2023.
2023, because that's Fangio.
Okay.
All right.
So
he was the third best safety that year.
Yeah.
By the way, his nickname on Pro Football Reference is Snowman.
Ooh, taken.
Well, not really.
That's right. We got the Snowman.
We got the Snowman. Can we have the Snowman and the Snowman?
His nickname is the Snowman?
That's what it says.
Based on what?
I'll find it.
He's from Canada.
So far, we're checking these boxes. He's from Canada. He goes by the Snowman.
Yeah. There's a 22-second TikTok on where it originated from, so I'll watch that in the break for you if you want. There are T-shirts, though, with like him on it. It says Snowman below.
Well, listen, just like you don't draft a tight end without telling your other tight end, you don't sign the Snowman without talking to the Snowman.
Okay, so
we got to make sure Deion Dawkins is on board with this.
So Snowman is because his jersey number being number 8.
Okay.
Aligned as the, yeah. Is that it? It's just because he wears the number 8?
It's not bad.
There's got to be more to it than that. How much again was the contract?
Between 15 and 19, according to, Spot Track had it at 15. PFF put it at 18. Current number 8 is Sam Martin. I don't think you're going to keep that number, Sammy.
Yeah, but this guy's got a nickname for it.
Yeah.
And he's going to get a big contract. Give him some money for it. I'm going to be honest. I have no interest in paying a safety $15 to $19 million a year.
And the Bills
that sounds
usually
nuts to me.
Don't have that interest either.
Yeah. What's the most they even end ever paid Poyer or Hyde? Were those two ever... They gave them new deals, didn't they? But were they ever like the highest paid safety in the league?
So Hyde made about 10, and before that made 6. Again, the salary kept going up. You have to factor that in here.
Right.
Taylor Rapp makes a little chunk, nothing crazy.
See if I can find this by year.
Hyde made about $9 million. Rapp right now, his average annual value is 3.
Okay.
You're not wrong to say they don't pay their safeties money. And Holland would be a big, big deviation from that if they were to get him in free agency.
Poyer in 2020 was the 13th highest paid safety in the league on cash. Hyde was then the next year 10th. That might be the highest.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm looking. I don't know if there was ever a year where one of those safeties, that's on cash spent, not cap, was ever inside the top 10. Yeah. So they've never given out like guys, biggest safety contract in the league.
Where have they paid the big money? Receiver,
defensive end.
Just
with Vaughn, I guess.
Offensive line, center, quarterback.
Center, yeah. The highest paid safety in the league right now is $21 million, by the way, Antoine Winfield. So you'd be making Holland like the second highest paid safety in the league.
They paid it at corner. They paid Trey White. Like, it's a big money position.
Yep.
Like, if we're looking at the positions they have gone in all the way on versus avoided, they have not paid big on guard.
No, not at all.
Connor McGovern, but then they moved him to center. But McGovern's decent.
Sure, right.
They've not paid big at safety.
No.
They've not...
modestly. Like,
sure,
again,
modestly.
like Hyde and Poyer were on fine contracts, but it just wasn't like break the bank, top of the market.
Yeah.
They paid tight end a lot.
They did.
They paid tight end a lot.
They've not paid running back.
Didn't they pay Tyler Kroft a lot of money, too, before that even? Right, running back, they've never done it.
Nope, not yet.
But, what the league changes, the cap changes, how important are their tendencies? Just because they haven't given a safety a big contract, would they not give Javon Holland one if they wanted him badly? But still, I don't know. That's a ton for a safety.
It's also worth pointing out, these years, they don't happen in a vacuum, not just from the cap going up, but if you have a very weak free agent class and there are no avenues to actually get better, all of a sudden that one player that might be coveted by 5 teams, we don't have a plan B. We don't have a plan C. We don't like the draft class. So he's about to get paid a lot more based on that. That could be one thing that keeps Cook's value down is, from what I read, I was reading Mina Kimes talk about how the running back class, there's a bunch of explosive ideas in the running back class that could help a lot of teams. So, it's all part of the fabric of free agency. All right, free agent idea of the day, Javon Holland, in the books.
All right,
done.
I'm a no.
You're a no.
I'm no.
I just think it's unlikely. And I think they would pursue the position. But, if it's like $15 million a year, I just don't think they would do it.
Wouldn't that be stunning?
It would be. I'd be surprised.
If they want a free agency, there it is. The Bills have paid him 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
what's that number going to be?
Last year they paid Mike Edwards $1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rapp is a success story to a point. Like they paid Rapp less than $2 million and then brought him back for $3.5 for 10 years.
Sure.
So I feel like McDermott thinks he can get it done, but maybe this year spooked him. This year they were bad back there.
Yeah.
803-0550, free agent idea of the day. We'll do another one tomorrow. Maybe Calais Campbell. He was supposed to be today.
Well, the first name you mentioned was Trey Lance.
Trey Lance expected to hit free agency. Yeah.
Poor Trey Lance. He started like 7 football games in his career.
Made a lot of money.
He did. What's the first round rookie stuff? He got like probably $20 million or something. But he was very bad last year in the one game he got in. So didn't really warrant more. The Bills tried to trade for him.
Yes, they did. That's why it's on the free agent idea of the day.
How dumb would that have been? They would have been spending $7 million or $6 million to a backup quarterback. Can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In hindsight, that would not have been good at all.
Other free agency news. Cowboys COO Stephen Jones says Dallas will be selectively aggressive in the offseason, which is I don't think that's a thing. That's not aggressive. That's
selectively aggressive.
That's kind of conservative, isn't it? Selectively
That's
aggressive.
Stephen Jones saying nothing, right? Absolutely nothing.
Top 100 free agents. There are 13 receivers on the list if you want to try and go that route. T. Higgins, don't expect him to be really available for the Bills.
Okay.
Godwin, same.
Right.
Amari Cooper, would rather not do that again.
Mm-hmm.
You're down to...
no Diggs.
No Diggs. Take him off the board.
It's 5.
Yeah. Diggs is right. He's the next receiver on the board. Then you go to all the way down, scrolling again. Top 100 free agents. Next receiver, Marquise Brown, who Jeremy Fowler said the Chiefs think the Bills want.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Slayton, who
downfield guy.
Yep, he's got
fine.
Truthers. Diami Brown.
Yep, downfield guy. Fine.
Could get paid on the playoffs because he had a big playoffs. And rounding out the rest of the receivers, like it's not a great list, right? You're just not loving it.
No, not really.
Mike Williams, no, thank you. Don't want Mike Williams. No. Why are we doing this? We'll save these for future free agent ideas of the day.
Yeah.
We can't get too many of these ideas out of the way right away. We'll get a break in 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. Jeremy White here for FanDuel Sportsbook. official partner of WGR. When it comes to FanDuel Sportsbook, and tonight specifically, there's a boost on just tonight's game. Tonight, Lakers and Mavs, the first matchup between these two since that big blockbuster trade, Luka Anthony Davis, and a 50% same-game parlay profit boost for tonight. Mavs and Lakers are playing for the first time since that trade. You can bet a Luka parlay on points or assists or rebounds, mix and match players on either team for a bigger payout. Visit FanDuel.com/white and get your same-game parlay profit boost for tonight's Mavs-Lakers game. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. What do you got? You said you had something, a trade.
I have got a this day in Sabres history for you.
Before you do that, we got a contest to tell people about. Be caller 5 to win a 4-pack of tickets to the Western New York Sport and Travel Expo coming to the Fairgrounds in Hamburg from Friday, March 7th through Sunday, March 9th. Visit WNYSportsShow.com for details and tickets. Listen all week. Chance to win a 4-pack of tickets. And it's all courtesy of Erie Promotions. So caller 5 to 2214-WGR, 716-2214-WGR wins a 4-pack of tickets.
So I thought that today was the 6-year anniversary of this, but actually yesterday was.
Okay. 6 years.
6 years ago, the Sabres did something that they have not done since. 6 years since they've done something. And yesterday was the anniversary of it. Not like a big anniversary. It's not the Brawl game or anything. But they have not done this thing in 6 years.
Okay.
They have not traded a first-round pick to acquire a player in 6 years now.
That would have been the Gooley and a first for Montour trade.
Yep, tonight's opponent. Sabres and Ducks. Brendan Gooley and a first-round pick in 2019 for Brandon Montour. That first-round pick, if you're curious, you might be going, what would that end up being? Braden Tracy, who's played one game in the NHL.
And how about Brendan Gooley?
I think he's playing in like Switzerland.
Former Sabres hope and a prayer, Brendan Gooley. They traded him for Montour.
There was a couple months where I was very excited.
They traded him for Montour, who was provably good. And Montour once played at forward under Ralph Kruger. Is that right?
Yes.
Hey.
He absolutely did. It was a while, too. I think he played for like a full, was it a month?
I don't think so. That didn't really happen, did it?
Well, it happened for at least a few games. I don't remember how long it happened, but there are absolutely lineup cards you can find.
And they just
where he had Brandon Montour, who was he not a top pair defenseman on the Panthers when they won the Cup?
Yeah, he had like 80 points.
Yeah, he had him at forward on like the fourth line. Brendan Gooley last played for the Berlin Polar Bears in Germany last year, 2 years ago. Nothing.
Sorry.
The Ducks have nothing for it.
73 points that year with Florida. 24 minutes a night, 73 points with the Florida Panthers. Now he's in Seattle. Gooley, Montour.
6 years since they've traded a first for a player. Is that not?
And considering how many
insane,
firsts
right?
they've had, I mean, they traded Savoy. He was a former first.
Right. They've traded guys that were first-round picks after the fact. But like where it says Sabres send first-round pick, they have not done that for a player.
Whose first was it? It wasn't even theirs.
No, you're right. It wasn't.
It wasn't theirs because it's late. And we know they didn't pick late.
That was San Jose's first.
That they got in the Kane trade?
Must be. Yeah. Okay, that's a better. I'll find that in the break. When's the last time they've traded their own first-round pick?
Their own first-round pick. Can we get that?
They didn't trade one for O'Reilly. I don't even think when they traded for Kane, that was their own first-round. No, of course it wasn't because they drafted
And
Eichel.
when they traded for Leonard, that's not their own first.
No.
When's the last time they traded their own first-round pick?
Holy cow, this is going to be like... It's going to be Darcy, isn't it?
We got to get a break in. Joe's going to find that.
Yeah.
803-0550 to join us. The chat might get the answers sometime soon, too. Jeremy and Joe, give us a ring about anything. Who cares? We got a Let's Get Stupid from Brian Mazarowski at WBEN about Ovechkin's record-breaking goal. That I'm sold on this. Let's Get Stupid. We'll do that next. Jeremy White here for Atwall Eye Care. They are online at atwalleye.com, and that's where you go to register for tomorrow's event. So tomorrow at their Harlem Road location, 11:30 a.m., there's a lunch and learn about cataract surgery and your options with cataracts. If you love sports but aren't crazy about driving home at night from the game, your vision may be suffering from cataracts. It's a natural part of aging. But don't worry, Atwell Eye Care has you covered. Customized cataract surgery options that fit your lifestyle and a chance to get the answers you need. Well, it's here with the Lunch and Learn. No pressure, no obligation, free event. Lunch and Learn. So you grab something to eat and get a presentation about cataract options, what options you might have. Meet Dr. Atwell, ask all your questions, find out how the surgery can help you see the 716 more clearly. So stop procrastinating and register at atwelleye.com for tomorrow's Lunch and Learn at 3095 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga. Enjoy that free lunch and get your questions answered and fall in love with the way you see the world with the help of Atwall Eye Care, official eye care provider of the Buffalo Bills and the only eye care I trust for my family.
Sean McDermott meeting with the media yesterday at the Combine. We'll hear from Brandon Beane later today. You can hear McDermott on some competition committee stuff, including the proposal by the Packers to ban the tush push. McDermott saying he does not like the aesthetics of the play. He's always believed there has been an injury risk to it. He also talked about needing more from Keon Coleman, getting Dalton Kincaid to be stronger this offseason, and plenty of other things. It's on our website, WGR550.com. The Matthew Stafford report from yesterday from Peter Schrager that the Rams have competition for Stafford on a contract. Stafford's been talking to other teams, and there are teams willing to pay more for him than L.A. And Stafford reportedly wants more than $50 million a year on his next contract. Sabres are in action tonight. It is a 7 o'clock puck drop against the Anaheim Ducks. Will have pregame starting at 6 here on WGR. Not known yet if Alex Tuch or Jason Zucker will be good to play tonight. Sabres 11 points out of the playoffs going into tonight's game. Tonight in the NBA, 10 o'clock for the Lakers and the Mavericks. Luka playing his old team for the first time since the big trade. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
We will have a better understanding of where some of these D tackles will fall. Kenneth Grant, to me, based on Daquan Jones, he was bigger next to Ed Oliver. Star Latulele. The Bills like to have that complementary defensive tackle group. Kenneth Grant from Michigan, 6'3", like 330, but he gets up the field like he's closer to 300 pounds and is still a quality run defender. If he tests just okay, and it's all, based on weight, like you guys know, if he tests just all right, he could be there at 30 for the Bills or within striking distance for a small trade up for Brandon Beane. That would be the perfect plug in next to Ed Oliver.
Chris Trapasso on with the fellas from Indianapolis with Chris and Steve. Kenneth Grant listed the name I've seen the most mock draft to the Bills at 30th overall, if he makes it that far. I've seen him in a couple of mocks trade up for him, Michigan defensive tackle. So there's that. There's another team, I just found this, Justin Mello of the Draft Network, who we talked to yesterday.
Yeah.
He just retweeted a article about the Titans, which is pretty interesting. Really quick thing on the Titans here. I'm not asking you to care too much about them. They draft first overall, okay? They have Will Levis. They have an offensive-minded coach, right? Brian Callahan. Mm-hmm. What are they going to do there? Are you going to take a quarterback? There's one thing about the Titans that would suggest they should not take a quarterback and they should trade down. And what Justin Mello retweeted is the Titans are probably going to swing and try and get Sam Darnold. And how would that idea hit? One thing about the Titans, it's not your stat of the day, but it's worth pointing out. There are 4 teams that do not have 3 picks in the top 100. Right? Top 100 draft picks, that's 3 rounds of the draft.
Okay.
There are only 4 teams that do not have at least 3 picks in the top 100, and the Titans are one of them. So if you're the Titans...
So trade down?
Trade down. Like, let's go get Sam Darnold. We don't love any of these quarterbacks. Let's go get Sam Darnold and pair him with an offensive mind, Brian Callahan, and get an absolute load of picks. Find out who likes Cam Ward. Find out who likes Shedeur Sanders 1 overall. If someone's going to come and take this guy, let's move from 1 to 6 and get, 2 firsts?
Yeah.
Just load up, completely reset the franchise, and go sign Sam Darnold in the free agency and call it a day. People don't love the idea of going to a quarterback that you feel like might have a ceiling, but, GMs and coaches, if you're the Titans GM and the Titans coach, you're going to have to show you have to win. Sure, the most important thing to do is develop a quarterback for long-term success, but sometimes just getting short-term success can buy you more time, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, if I'm a Titans fan, I don't hate that idea.
Do we know anything about next year's quarterback class?
Right. That's where you could say if you get an additional first, maybe next year you have 2 firsts.
I know Arch Manning would be eligible, but he hasn't also played yet, so he'd have to play first and then be so good that he'd be draft eligible. But could Tennessee be thinking that way? Or does the coach and GM not think they would even have that much time to say, well, let's let's not only trade down, let's grab a team's first-round pick next year. Yeah. Because kind of like the Bills did.
Yep.
We know we need a quarterback, and maybe they don't even want to go Darnold and like commit to that for 4 years or whatever it would be. Let's go one more year, Will Levis. Let's stockpile picks. Let's grab an extra first next year, and let's load up and be ready to go get a better quarterback next year. But again, that only works if you know or you have a really good idea that 2026, the quarterbacks are going to be a lot better than they are right now. And I don't know the answer to that question, other than I just know Arch Manning, off the top of my head, is eligible. That would be interesting, though. They're often mocked for Travis Hunter, I've seen lately.
Okay.
Just pass on quarterback altogether and go get the best player in the draft. Browns might prefer that.
Yeah.
Get their pick of the litter at quarterback, because I feel like they kind of need to pick Cam Ward.
803-0550, our phone number. We're going to call in from Rob here, and then I've got a Let's Get Stupid we'll have some fun with. Hey, Rob, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. So with the Holland discussion, I know it's not possibly relevant, but I do play in a fantasy football league with, like, it's a D league, so like defensive players, and that guy was a beast 2 years ago. And if we know anything about McDermott, is that he can coach guys up in his system. I mean, look at Hyde and Poyer, and bringing a guy in like that as opposed to taking a stab at the draft. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer if we are able to bring him in. I think he would just make a massive addition on the back end. He's ball hawk and attacking machine. The second thing I would say is, Jeremy, if you can, please say a prayer and have Arsenal make a run at Liverpool. I'm a Manchester United fan, so we're avoiding relegation right now. And, if you can, please, just whatever you can do, have them take a run at Liverpool, because I hate Liverpool. It's interesting to watch. And with the draft coming up, I mean, a defensive lineman, obviously in the first round, but more importantly, Jeremy, please say a prayer for Arsenal. I'll hang up and listen, guys.
Thanks, Rob. Rob, we're focused on Champions League. Thank you.
Champions League. You're going to win that too?
Going to win the Champions League?
We're going to win that too.
You're not going to get all the breaks you've gotten in the Premier League to happen in the Champions League.
They're the best team. They're the best team in the Champions League so far.
Sure they are.
By the way, if you missed it, Premier League put out a video yesterday. Buffalo officially a Liverpool city now. Officially. Bill's Elvis is going over there to Anfield for a game.
I haven't been invited.
3 Liverpool fans that came over. They did like a little 10-minute documentary on it, coming to a Bills game. They went to Bills-Ravens. What a game.
It's an unholy alliance.
Got an official bromance brewing right now between the Bills and Liverpool.
Here, I love it. The good news is, for anyone out there as a Liverpool fan that you want to talk junk to, I actually thought of what I could do. I actually got it. Rob, your Liverpool friends, here you go. Joe, Jurgen Klopp, system manager. Oh, we're going to cry. The manager's leaving us. It's so sad. It's so terrible. Next year, league title. System manager.
No, this is like
I got to wonder. Was he overrated the whole time?
No.
You were over there crying real tears when he was going to step away. Turns out he was a fraud. Fraud watch Jurgen Klopp.
No. Who's the Cowboys coach that won a Super Bowl after
Barry
Jimmy Johnson?
Switzer?
Yeah, it's all. Oh, I like R.A. Slot, but come on.
Oh, okay. Talking trash on your own manager right now.
Just saying, I like Barry. Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl. All I'm doing is counting the rings.
System manager.
Just counting the rings, and there's another one coming in 2 months.
I'm ready for Let's Get Stupid because I'm sufficiently upset about Arsenal.
Before we do that, do you want an answer to what we teased before the break? I found the answer on the last time the Sabres traded their own first-round pick.
Okay, the last time the
Sabres... it's been 6 years since they've traded any first-round pick for a player. They traded the San Jose's first for Brendan Gooley. They had
for Brandon Montour.
Thank you. Sorry, right.
Gooley and a first.
Thank you for Brandon Montour. The last time
which is another one of the trades that we spoke into existence. We kept saying trade for yes.
Montour?
Montour was specifically a guy. One of the guys who also tried to speak into existence, by the way, who's still good, is Shea Theodore. There's another one. Anaheim had like 20 defensemen.
I mean, wasn't there 15 years of Cam Fowler trade talk?
Yes. Anaheim's got to be in the same kind of spot that the Sabres are. Like, look at all these players we used to have that are good somewhere else. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
So the last time they traded their own first-round pick.
Okay. Was what year?
2007. How about that?
They traded their first-round pick for Dinas Zubris.
February 27th, 2007 is the last time the Buffalo Sabres traded their own first-round pick.
I believe it was a first-round pick and Jakob Klepish.
Hold on, I've got 1996 open because I was trying to look up the last time before that.
That's wrong. It was not him. It was
Here you go, I've got it.
Yuri Novotny.
Yep, Yuri Novotny.
Yuri Novotny in a first for Zubris. Where's the Jakob Klepish trade come in?
I don't even know what that name is. I don't see him.
Was Klepish, maybe he was in the Greer trade.
Darcy was dealing that day. He traded Marty to Philly for a second-round pick. He traded a fourth-round pick for somebody named Mikko Lehtinen. He traded a fifth-round pick for Ty Conklin. He traded, Novotny in a first.
For Zubris
And someone named Timo Helbling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, that's the only time this century the Sabres have traded their own first-round pick. That's it. You got to go back to 1996 before that. They have traded their own first-round pick one time in a century. Now, one defense of that is they've been picking top 5 like every year for 12 years.
True.
So, or maybe top 10 is a little more fair.
Meanwhile, apologies to my wife, because when she asks me later today, hey, did you remember to insert something here? And I say, no. I did correctly remember that Jakob Klepish was in the Greer trade. So there you go.
The Greer trade?
Yeah, when the Sabres got Mike Greer from Washington.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
It's Jakob Klepish that went to Washington.
Who is Jakob Klepish? Is this just a prospect?
What do you want from me?
All right.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Let's get stupid, as if we haven't already been doing that. Let's get stupid. Brian Mazurowski brings up a great idea.
Jakob Klepish, still playing, by the way.
Yeah, in the KHL?
In Czech League. He plays for Jágr's team. All right, anyways.
Jágr still plays?
Yeah, he does. I think this is the last year, though. He's like 53. All right, what does BMAZ got?
So BMAZ tweeted, Brian Mazurowski of our sister station, he has an idea to fix the NHL. His idea is Alexander Ovechkin's record-breaking goal must be challenged and overturned on a millimeter offside review. And then there will never be another offside review. And I am here to say, I'll take it. Mazurowski goes on to point out that the Caps play against the Islanders on April 6th, and Patrick Waugh has the stones to do it.
Oh, wow.
Challenge the Gretzky-breaking goal. Challenge it.
I wouldn't even play him against the Islanders because I'd be worried about Patrick Waugh.
Can you imagine Ovechkin breaks the record and they challenge it for offside?
Nobody would do that. Maybe Waugh would. Waugh is a crazy person. Nobody would do that. And this is far too big a sacrifice. It's not... I'm here to say I do not like offside challenges at all. I am not ruining one of the greatest moments that is going to happen in my lifetime in hockey in the name of getting them gone. It's not too much. It's too big a price to pay. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing to watch. You will never... I mean, Matthews, I guess, could do it. But you will probably never see a Gretzky record broken again. Right? Fair? There will never be a Gretzky record that is ever broken again after this one. This is it.
That's probably right.
This is the only time it will happen. I'm going to give that up just to get offside reviews gone. I know offside reviews stink, but
I would give it up.
Too big a price.
He would just score a goal like 5 minutes later.
It would ruin it, wouldn't it?
It
would ruin it. Should ask Lindy if he would challenge it, if he knew it was offside. See, he needs to do it against a team that doesn't have a lot to play for. That'd be willing to just like kind of... Because listen, the problem that you might run into, because he's gonna be a little close. Like he probably gets it before the last night of the year, right? What's he need? 13 goals in 25 games. So he needs to be on like a 45 goal pace the rest of the way. If they're playing like some team in the final day of the season that needs the game to make the playoffs or the division, and he scores Okay, so here's interesting. They play Pittsburgh the final game of the season. In Pittsburgh. Does Pittsburgh do it? Would they challenge? His arch nemesis? It's in their building?
Right.
Do they not want... Do they care? Do they not... If they knew, if the coach knows on the bench, Mike Sullivan, does he think, I'm not letting him break the record against us in our building?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think they're...
But is there a jerk in the league somewhere that is thinking that way?
Are they still nemesis?
Well, no, because the Penguins are terrible.
Right.
I mean, the Sabres are just got to win a couple games here to let the league have a narrative of the Capitals are in first place and the Penguins are in last place. One team doing Ovi right, the other doing Crosby wrong. But you need the Sabres to win a couple games to get that fact proven. Yeah, they're nemesis, right? That's his biggest rival of his career. Crosby and the Penguins. I think it'd be kind of cool if he did it against the Penguins. Right? Him and Crosby shaking hands. Like, this is how they do in hockey, right? The guy retires or breaks a record or something, and they line up after the game or after the record, and they shake hands with the other team. And wouldn't the league want the moment of Ovi's just broken the record and him and Crosby shaking hands right after? So they'd probably want it.
Is there anything to be said about Ovechkin? Let's here. All right, this is a little juicy. They're both Hall of Famers. They're both first ballot.
Yep, both legends. Both.
Who has
Mount Rushmores of something? Ovi's goal scorers.
Who will have the better resume? And I want you to weight the accomplishment. Like, one guy, 3 cups, all-time great. He won everything, every level. Played Olympics. For Team Canada, won all this, scored the golden goal. This guy scored the most goals ever. That's a pretty big one to just say, it's on the table. I scored the most goals of all time. And I did win a Stanley Cup. Versus, well, I'll look at all the things I did. Oh, not number one in anything? Interesting.
That's the interesting thing.
I'm just saying. I'm not. It's a.
Right. What's better? Being the better overall player, being one of the best players of all time, one of the 5 best,
and played for the country that has the most accomplishments.
Or you're the best that's ever done that.
Yeah.
And it's not like just, he's the best at poke checking. No, he's the best goal scorer of all time.
He doesn't have the most 200-foot back checks of all time.
Right. No, he is the best goal scorer ever. You're onto something here.
Yeah.
I'm ready to take that and run with it a little bit. Again, if Ovi breaks the record, his legacy, put it above Crosby.
Okay. It's just funny, like on the chat.
He's won.
One guy, 3 cups is better than 1 cup. Oh, okay. So is Marc-Andre Fleury have a better? Or he wasn't with them all 3, was he? No. Okay. As Letang, because he's got 3 cups.
There are guys with 3 cups. There is nobody except for one with the most goals.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's at least an interesting conversation to say, would you trade the goal title for 2 more cups? People would say yes, but should you? You are the best goal scorer of all time.
Right. Yeah.
For instance,
I'm trying to think of a comparable for for here.
Let's make it about the Hall of Fame. Let's make it about busts. Let's make it not the bad kind of bust, like the good kind. You walk in the building and they just say here's the goalie with the most wins. Here's the guy with the most goals. Here's the guy with the most cups.
Yeah.
Crosby, of course, is arguably one of the best players of all time, but he would not have.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be on top of any single mountain other than international wins as a player. It's not really a thing.
Yeah,
it sounds like I'm trying to take Crosby down. I'm just playing a little bit of a. This is kind of fun to think about.
I'm trying to think of an Allen comparable, but I don't know that there really works that way in football. Would you rather have Allen win 3? Because I think this going to be an easy yes on one way. Would you rather have Allen win 3 Super Bowls, or would you rather have him win 1 and be the greatest all-time? Again, there's no football record that really meets the equivalent.
Right, because football...
Allen gets the most touchdowns ever. Right. The most yards ever. Pick whatever you want. I don't think there's a football record that really stacks up the same as Ovi breaking
Ovechkin
the goal record.
getting the one cup is the only thing that really enters this conversation, because if he didn't have any, you couldn't even entertain it. It's a fun one.
He could win another one this year.
Huh? All right, what if it's 3?
They are in first place.
What if it's 3-2? 3-2?
If it's 3-2, it's even stronger. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550.
Despite the fact, by the way, I was looking real quick, despite the fact that the Capitals are in first place in the NHL, they have the 5th best odds. Dallas, Florida, Carolina, Edmonton are all above them. So they're not the favorites, even though they're in first.
Who the favorites are?
Is Sidney, but is Crosby?
Wait, who are the favorites? If you say Carolina, I'm going to throw some.
They're second.
Okay.
They're almost the favorites.
I can't take Carolina being favored to win the Stanley Cup anymore.
It's
like a
every year.
non-stop situation.
They're the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah, on some level, yeah.
No, they're like, I mean, it's not really like a sexy comparison because who really cares about the Carolina Hurricanes? But it's actually the same thing with the coach, too. Rod Brindamore gets there in 2018, okay? Since then, lost in conference finals, lost in first round, lost in second round, lost in second round, lost in conference finals, lost in second round. Does that kind of sound like the Bills?
A little bit.
One coach the whole time? Yeah.
803-0550, a new trade candidate on the defensive line. Ooh. Yeah. The beefing up of the line has a new name. I want to say he is a relatively big name in defensive line communities. We'll explore this trade idea with Washington when we return. Jeremy and Joe here on WGR.
Two-Hill back in, 2nd and 8. Pressure up the middle. Hurts in some trouble, and Hurts goes down. Now that's a sack by Jonathan Allen while being blocked, able to pull him down. Now 8.5 on the year for Allen.
Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle, Washington Commanders. Ian Rappaport just tweeting a bit ago. The Commanders are taking calls on Jonathan Allen, who has 1 year left on a deal for $15 million. Washington plans to do right by the player. Pro Bowl defensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So Washington plans to do right by the player, and Allen's camp is involved in helping him land at the right spot, either via trade or free agency. He has 1 year left at $15 million.
Okay.
So PFF grade for him, 68. Hold on. Let me pull up the pass rush.
Yeah, I've got the pass rush stuff on him. He last year a 68.5 pass rush grade. Every year of his career, though, he's at least above average. He had one elite year in 21. Some of his advanced pass rush numbers are even better. I can bring that up, like pass rush win rate, where he stacks up in that area versus the Bills guys.
He finished, okay, I see what you're saying. He had 5 sacks. No, I take that back. How many sacks did he have last year? Jonathan Allen. He's a name. Like, he's a guy we know.
He's a big name.
And I guess it's decision time, take a pay cut, be traded.
Yep.
Okay. Jonathan Allen.
Here you go. So last year, some of his pressure numbers, total sacks as well.
Yeah,
he's again, I'm like kind of stuck in 2021 looking at his numbers and waiting for the rest of them to load.
Yeah.
2021, like he's the best. Like he's Aaron Donald level almost as a pass rusher.
I believe they save $7 million by cutting him.
Okay.
So that might be why they're trying to find a home for Jonathan Allen. He
had a 10.4% pass rush win rate. That actually was below Ed Oliver at 12.6. Ed Oliver actually, they thought had a really good year. 26 total pressures for Jonathan Allen. That would have been second on the Bills for their interior linemen. Oliver had 49. Oliver also played like twice the amount of snaps, which is also, keep that in mind. So yeah, pretty good numbers.
Right.
Definitely not as good though as previous seasons.
Brandon Beane to speak with reporters at the media at the Combine at 2:00 today, so stay tuned for that. All right, you had something in free agency. Joe in the break looked at me and goes, I got something. It's going to make you mad.
I think it's going to make you mad.
All right, I'm up for it.
All right, Ian Hartitz, who is now with Fantasy Life, right? Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life, formerly PFF. Ian Hartitz just did a podcast / YouTube video. He is predicting landing spots for 9 of the biggest free agents, and I think he's only doing offensive because they do a fantasy side.
Right, I'm ready. I'm ready to react in real time. I'm looking right in the camera. Would you tell me this thing the Bills are going to do in free agency? Okay.
I have not thought about this at all for a second as a combination, so I don't even know what my emotions, my feelings would be about it. The graphic, though, on the left, this is not it, is Chris Godwin on the Patriots. That's the graphic on the left. That's the guy on the left.
Okay.
The guy on the right is Diggs in a Chiefs uniform.
Oh, it's fine.
That's fine?
That's
okay.
Fine.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Diggs in a Chiefs uniform?
Sure. Whatever.
Not a problem?
No. What am I going to do? It's fine.
Well, you know what you would do? You would lose your mind because you think he's being villainized by Bills fans already. If he goes and plays for the Chiefs, it's going to be he's like supervillain now. And I don't need that.
Well,
I'm ready. I'm ready for a couple of years to go by and we're going to go back to him being a beloved figure here. I think he's the best receiver in Bills history. If he goes to the Chiefs, do I have to put a 5-year extra buffer on that now because he went and played for Kansas City?
Well, the Bills,
depending on how good he would be,
the Bills would not trade Diggs to the Chiefs. That was the one place he couldn't go, but they would, of course, trade to the Chiefs at the draft. Their receivers are good. They already got Worthy, Rice, and Diggs. Hopkins is a free agent.
Hopkins is a free agent.
Okay. I'm not too worried.
So
about
is
Diggs.
Juju a free agent.
I'm too worried about Diggs.
All right.
What I'm worried about is the Bills just running it back with the same receivers and, Because can I give just one? I'll give you one pushback to they were good anyway, which is a fair point. You want to tell me, guys, they scored 30 points a game. They set their franchise record for scoring. They're good. Yes. But if they do that again, Joe Brady's going to leave. And then you're going to bring somebody else in, and is that coordinator just going to be ready to roll out a room that doesn't have a separator or doesn't have a speed guy? Like, the league has shown us again and again how important these pieces are. And I'm actually at the point where I think McDermott wants one. I really believe it. And enough of the, well, we got close to it, and we think of this guy like that. Whatever. We've been down this road a million times. Jonathan Allen, trade idea. Diggs to the Chiefs. Okay. Higgins?
Higgins stays, doesn't he? I feel like he's staying. I think Burrow.
The only thing
I think it's about Burrow. I know we had a guest on from Cincinnati last week that didn't think it was about Burrow. It's like the organization will pay him. I think it's about Burrow. I think Burrow is gonna make sure his presence, even if it's not him like strong arming them, his presence is gonna make them invest in some guys. And I think Higgins is gonna be one of them.
Could be. I saw a little bit ago Luther Burden, was receiver Missouri. Like McShay and Kuiper all have him falling out of the first round. Like, that's a guy you should probably go get, Luther Burden. He's awesome.
Yeah. Second round, right?
Yep.
For him.
Trapasso was just tweeting out a guy from Florida who he compared to Diggs coming out in college, and that's Elijah Badger. And I'll just take a guy named Badger. Come on. Badger? Sounds great. Elijah Badger.
I mean, there's nickname opportunity.
A lot of nickname opportunities.
That would sell some jerseys.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. Sabres and Ducks tonight from KeyBank Center.
Can you give me the all-time Sabre-Duck crossover from most games played?
How many can I give you?
Yeah, how many can you give me? Guys that played for both teams.
Ryan Miller.
Ryan Miller is the guy I've got, like, reference as, like, their approximate value. He's number one.
Okay.
540 for the Sabres, and then he ended with the Ducks playing 87 games.
Brandon Montour.
Brandon Montour is correct. It's a lot of defensemen.
I was going to say, the next name I've got is not a defenseman, but I've got Rob Niedermeyer.
Yes. Did he score the last home playoff goal?
For the Sabres?
Yeah.
I don't want to think
Game
about that.
6? He scored the first one. Someone may have scored after.
Against the Flyers?
Yeah. Oh, Gerby scored because they took the lead, didn't they? In Game 6?
Sounds
okay,
right.
so Niedermeyer, though, did score in their last home playoff game. Rob Niedermeyer's correct.
Nick Delorier.
Correct. You're missing, I think, but I'm just, because like they have it by separate columns, the guy that played the most combined games for the two teams. 371 for the Sabres, 187 for the Ducks. Who is it?
The biggest ever Ducks-Sabres crossover.
Yep. Most games between the two. He played between the two 7 years combined.
Yeah. Okay. Tony Ludman.
Tony Ludman, correct. 371 for the Sabres.
Yeah.
He is still here, I guess, that year they win the division and play Boston in the first round.
Yeah.
He's still on the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ludman. Others you could have mentioned were Steve Montador, Nathan Beaulieu, Ilya Lyubushkin, who we just went by that, and Jamie McGinn is another one.
All right.
There's a long list of these, though.
Yeah.
Get it to 8 tonight.
Not 8 points.
Eight. Yeah,
Operation 10 straight.
So, yeah, Operation
for
10
anybody
straight.
that doesn't know how Operation 10 straight works, I'll run through it again. How are the Sabres going to get back in the playoff picture? The answer is win 10 in a row.
Yeah.
And here's the math of it. So if they win their next 9, I know this is a big task. This is just, for me, an easier marketing tool than get 7 out of every 10 points for a couple of weeks. And then Lindy's plan is fine too. But here's mine. Win 10 in a row. Okay, Joe, if they win their next 9, they will have played 64 games, and they would have 69 points.
Right.
So the math on that is 69 points in 64 games. Then you're at a pace of 88 points.
Yeah.
Ottawa is 62 games. Sorry. I don't have to do all the numbers for you out loud. It's not exactly good without showing my work. What I'm trying to get to, though, is you basically, as soon as that win streak was over, you'd be a point out of the playoffs. If you have 69 points in 64 games.
Yeah. My new goal for them, like my internal goal for them, what I want to see happen is just give me a week where they're 5 or 6 points out.
Well,
give me a day where I can open the standings and go, well, they're in it. And I can start feeling like I'm doing math that isn't getting a needle through a haystack. Like I need to get them to a number like that to feel like they can actually make it.
They do have,
and that doesn't even mean they'll actually make it. They'll still be a huge underdog to make it, but it will make me believe that I've got meaningful games coming.
They do have games in hand, and a lot of them on all these teams. They have 2 in hand on Ottawa. Listen, very key point here. Do not mistake this for optimism. All right? Everybody, let's
just trying to stay engaged.
This is not. Do not mistake this for optimism. This is just. It really is. Like sometimes
stay engaged.
You ever do this? Sometimes I do this on the golf course where you shoot a terrible front nine. You're not going to have the best score of your life. It's over, and you go to the back nine and say, you know what? Let me really see if I can shave 10 strokes off that front. And at the end, I'll have a respectable score, and I'll at least feel better about it.
Yeah.
I did something. That's what this is. It's over. But we can get invested in this. And again, if they found a way to win 10 straight, it would be right back in it.
Isn't the goal... Right, they would. Isn't the goal between now and the end of the year to not make the offseason feel like just a black hole?
Yes.
Because this is something I would absolutely roll my eyes at the pass, but whatever. The bar is so low. I'm willing. I've set my standards lower, as you would after 14 years. That something that I would have hated to hear 7 years ago. Now I'm like, all right, give it to me. Having them go on a run between now and the end of the year and missing, just so I can go through the summer feeling like they might actually do something next year. That's it. Give me a stretch of play, 2 months, that can give me any shred of hope for next season.
But there is, I know there's someone out there yelling right now, but if they did that, they would just sit on their hands and do nothing, and we'd live the same life again and again.
Okay, so I guess that maybe is where I've changed. I don't believe they're going to do anything regardless.
Right. Well,
I don't think.
So real quick, we're going to get a call in here in a moment. Here's the shortest way to say Operation 10 straight. I shorted all the math, or shortened it. Ottawa has 62 points in 57 games, right?
Yeah.
When they get to 64 games played, if they keep their current pace, they have 69 points. What did I just tell you the Sabres would have if they won their next 9? 69 points. You'll win 10 in a row, you're there. I know it's 10 in a row.
Win 10 in a row, he says.
Hey, it's down to 9. Beat Anaheim tonight. It's down to 8. Operation 10 straight. This shall be our greatest achievement as a fan base and group. Better than the tank. We all got on board for the tank, made it happen. We spoke to Brandon Montour and Ryan O'Reilly trades into existence and the Kane trade. Let's go ahead. Let's get back to speaking things into existence. 10 in a row, and they're back.
Well, we should be speaking the Elias Pettersson trade back into existence, by the way, because he is not happy in Vancouver.
He blamed the media, so I might have a problem with him now.
He's just on. Everything is sour.
Okay.
He was bad at the Four Nations, like horrible. He got benched. Had like 1 point maybe in the whole tournament. He came back. He hasn't looked good, I guess, in 2 games for Vancouver. He missed the entire net on a breakaway yesterday that could have won them the game. And then after the game, Pettersson got asked about frustration of not scoring that goal, and he said it's more annoying to deal with the media. So I don't need to take that one comment and run with it. It's kind of added into a larger picture that maybe we shouldn't write off the idea that he still gets traded. And when he was reportedly available, or when all the rumors were circulating, the Sabres were the front runner. Right? Everybody kind of indicated they were the front runner.
Yep.
So if he's back on the market, I kind of want to think they're the front runner again.
Break time. Extendo Sports. Try to get a call in. Luke, if you can hang with us on the other side. 803-0550 on WGR. R.I.P. Al Troutwig, announcer for MSG, NBC, and the Olympics. He was everywhere.
Yeah.
Olympics.
I saw he died. I'm like, I couldn't even place like where I remember seeing him. I just see him every. Yeah, I saw him in different places.
I just went to try and find highlights of him. He did a lot of studio show hosting, play-by-play. I couldn't find highlights because he was just doing interviews with Michael Jordan in 1992. And
yeah.
Anyway, Al Troutwig was all over the place, and MSG, a big part of that as well. The Shamrock Run is this weekend. You know how I know that?
You participating?
No, because it's expected to be 40 and rainy on a Saturday. I have done the Shamrock Run before. I feel like it's 40 and rainy every year. Shamrock Run down in South Buffalo, in the old First Ward. Great event, good times, good people. You know, it's kind of like the first sign of spring, but it's. I mean, I'm not an organizer of the event. Sometimes I'm sure you get beautiful days, but my experience there is it's always It's March. It's always exactly this cold and wet. So that's Saturday, the Shamrock Run.
Nice.
I think, if I remember, yeah, okay. So the thing my memory of the Shamrock Run is the first time I showed up to do it. It's a lot like the Turkey Trot, where a lot of races are 5Ks, right? I run a 5K, and then you get to the event, and actually, no, this is an 8K. Oh, so we're running 5 miles. Like, okay. Mm-hmm. In my head, it was 3. But we're doing, Shamrock Run's an 8K. 12 noon, Saturday, March 1st. March is right around the corner. Bulldog pointed out to me that he was going through his golf apps and like on his phone.
Yeah.
That we played a round of golf. I played a round of golf with him last year on March 5th.
Wow.
That's a week from tomorrow. And that is not happening.
No, it's
that is not.
I'd be stunned.
March 5th.
You have to drive somewhere for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of golf, I have not watched the copycat PGA Tour Full Swing documentary on Netflix.
Me neither. I watched one episode.
Although I might watch today. Because they're releasing the episode today that is like, I guess, is the entire thing about it or most of it. It's Scotty Scheffler's arrest during last year's PGA Championship. And they've got like behind the scenes looks. I don't know. All I saw is there was a promise of angles and, you know, mic'd up stuff that we haven't seen before.
What a crazy thing that actually happened.
Oh, that morning here on the air as it was happening was nuts.
Yeah.
Like, he's arrested. He's in. There's the mugshot.
Was it
which
Field,
came out?
Field Yates? Who was the?
No, the reporter that was like
Jeff Darlington.
Jeff Darlington.
Jeff Darlington was there and saw the whole thing, and
Scheffler asked him, like, begged him for help, didn't he?
Yes.
Help me. I think he said to Jeff Darlington.
Yeah.
Man. And Darlington's like on ESPN Live, like soaking wet from the rain. And he's like giving updates on it. That was a while. And then it was he was in jail, and it was, is he going to make it to the tournament in time? It's like his tee time's in an hour. He made it. I don't think he won that one, right? Though, right?
No, he did not.
Okay.
It was the Open or PGA? The PGA? Is that Schauffele? Schauffele won 2.
It was the PGA. So that was Schauffele.
He won the U.S. Open and the PGA, and who won the British? Not Rory, somebody else. Who won the Masters? Scheffler won the Masters. Anyway.
Who won? We got to get this.
Who won it? Quick. I got to know.
Somebody. Chat. Anyone.
We'll Google it. See you tomorrow.